Happy Friday, socialites. Welcome to the best damn social club in the universe. I am your host, Jedi ASU, and thank you for spending some of your Friday evening with me and my guest, the illustrious Brad Denny. We have a lot to talk about, and it's going to be a good conversation, so make sure you go ahead and pour yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and let's get social. It is Friday, the 18th of September, 2020, and a lot has gone on. So, Brad, I'm just going to straight up introduce you. And, ooh, look at that. I did not even get the Zoom session ready for you. So, no one can see or hear you. How amazing is that?
Man of mystery.
You know what? At least people know you're out there. Look at that. And let me hide participants window. And you're all pretty for everyone to see you. Look at that.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Look at this, and that's what. Happy, hello, sir. Lovely to see you. How was the week for you outside of everything else that went down?
Well, just like everything else in the world, survive in advance. So another week down, another step
That's
closer to normalcy. That's what
excellent.
counts.
I am glad, and I'm glad you're here because I know we've been doing some back and forth. So I'm actually looking forward to this being kind of like one big fat therapy session for me. So, so Eddie, what are you drinking right now, my man?
Right now I got a some Wren House Kolsch
Ah,
that
yes.
they just did another batch of. They did it a while back, but re-released it yesterday, so had to go
Okay.
pick some up, and it's nice little Wren House glassware as well. So
Very nice.
cheers! Thanks for having
Salud,
me on.
absolutely. Cheers. I am drinking a Technique Cabernet Sauvignon because I have no beer in my house and I did not go and run and buy any prior to the show. But the wine fridge is full, so guess I should drink the wine
You're
before
in
I
wine
start.
country, might as well.
Because I got to clear out. I got to clear out the wine fridge before I start buying beer. So it's it's a
Good
sacrifice that
excuse
we
to
all have to
drink.
make. Exactly, exactly. And we'll also be having Crafty Devils joining us in the top of the hour, giving us his beer or beers of the week. So it's going to be a new fun segment, and we'll see what kind of a car crash from a technical perspective we can get ourselves into. So the biggest news, just to jump right on into it, is obviously playing college football in a global pandemic. Um, there was, I think only Baylor Houston got canceled this week, or is there anyone else that got
Oh, I
canceled this
think
week?
there's like 9 or 10 games that on docket got the axe. So I
Axe?
think I saw something like there's 26 games going on,
Okay.
and like 10 or 12 cancellations overall, including some previously ones. But like there's a rash of ones that were, as you mentioned, Houston Baylor, which was scheduled. Interesting left scheduled last week, which didn't that game didn't
Right.
exist last week. Then it just quickly scheduled to fill the Fox Big Noon Saturday, and then all of a sudden that goes by the wayside. And yeah, it's like BYU Army also
Mm-hmm.
fell to the axe. So I mean, it's going to be one of those, it's week by week, survive in advance, just day by day, whatever you can do, and that
Right.
goes for everything, including the schedule makers.
Absolutely. And so then with Army B, no, is it the BYU Army game? What was that due to? That was due to
I think BYU
positive
had some.
tests.
I think BYU COVID related, and then you're starting to see. I mean, not like an outright, Oklahoma of like we're not giving out any info because that's a
Mm-hmm.
tactical advantage, with that,
Right.
the paranoid coach stereotypes. But I mean, you just got, whether it's, there's some schools that are, saying that it's not positive, but they're in quarantine for contact tracing
Mm-hmm.
purposes. So it's just, it's such a fine line, such a perilous, process to conduct, as you mentioned, major college football in a global pandemic. And yeah, and every day there's like something new, something different, something unexpected, some more
Right.
curveballs being thrown. And it's just, I keep going back to that chaos meme with Jeff Goldblum. Just that's our life. That's
Right.
2020. All right,
Or life finds a way. That's the other way of looking at it, right?
there you go. Positive spin. The better testing.
Right.
Maybe.
Maybe. And that was interesting too because what was it? The Baylor Houston game was called off by the University of Baylor because of contact tracing, not because of positive tests. And that's because the people that there was a number of people that were under quarantine because of contact tracing because they might have come in contact with someone who was infected, but they tested negative. So I was in a back and forth with someone, and it seems like that needs to be revisited. I think it's we're all learning what to do is right. So I don't was that the right thing to do, even though the players were showing up negative?
I mean, I'm of the opinion, always be better safe than sorry. Discretion is the better part of valor. All that stuff. I mean, it's not. I mean, as much as we want college football, everybody wants life to be back to normal. If you miss a college football game, to err on the side of caution when somebody could get sick, and
Right,
then of course that person, if they're sick and maybe they don't know it or they're asymptomatic, they spread. You just so these incalculable things that we've been dealing with for months now.
right,
Just if you don't have that college football game, then I think that's a fair price
right.
to pay for just being
Exactly.
keeping people safe.
And shout out to Paul Hornstein. Good to see you as always, my man, especially since it is late on the East Coast. So shout out to you out there. One question though about that, right? And this is kind of something that I'm really not struggling with, but it's always a counter argument, right? The infection rates are low, or it doesn't impact a particular age group, or they're not going to be, you know, yes, they spread it, but they're not going to die. They're not going to die from it, right? Taking the is it more now about we're protecting the coaches and the staff because they are older than the kids, or is it really something that is this virus really going to hurt someone eventually? Does that make sense? Because it's just I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think you've already had a college football player death from COVID related complications.
D
Jermaine
two,
Stevens.
right?
He was the son of a former Steelers first round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a college football player. He's died of it. I mean,
Right.
we talked last time about how badly the virus knocked Ryan Newsom on his ass. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
guy who was training for the NFL draft, and he couldn't take more than a step or two out of bed. So
Right.
I think it's just general protection of public health. I mean, not so much. I don't think it's whether it's this segment or that segment or anything. It's just
Okay.
common sense because you just there's for as much as we've learned about this virus collectively, over the course of the pandemic, there's still so much that is unknown and won't be known for quite some time. So, it goes back to you don't want to play fast and loose with people's lives and livelihood and health and safety if you can just be prudent, be smart. With if you have new weapons in that arsenal, like the 15-minute testing that should be rolling out here
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon. That's a huge, obviously a huge thing that's really kind of changed,
Right.
kind of the paradigm with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, and hopefully other conferences as well. So if there is a way to get this done, that's going to be kind of the tip of the spear. But there's just so many other complications, and then you
Right.
go back to a lot of this falls on college kids being responsible. And the party bus thing from Memphis, and now they're disputing that. But I mean, in general,
Right.
there's just we talked about last time. The margin of error for all this is so slim, and just one false move can bring the whole house of cards down. So
Right.
you're hoping, and week by week, day by day, hour by hour, it seems like
Exactly.
just creeping along, just trying to get things in a direction that's favorable.
Right. And I guess that's the key, right? I guess that's where I really have to get mentally is that it's going to a it's in a positive direction whether we're having setbacks or not. It just it doesn't feel natural. I mean, there's going to be a lot of I don't know if there's more games this weekend and I don't know if there's going to be more games next weekend that we get to look forward to, but it just I don't get the same joy out of it only because I know what's lingering out there. And so that's why I'm kind of that's again what just keeps bugging me and worrying me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much a matter of or I think the big question is, should college football be played? And I think the answer is no. The fact of the matter is, though, people like collectively have answered yes, it's going to be played. So now
Right.
it's a matter and a question and a battle, ongoing daily, hourly battle of how do we get this college football season played? And that's where just have all these complications, and you have the on the fly scheduling, on the fly cancellations, and all this stuff that because we are collectively marching forward with the a season that is going to be played in some form or fashion. That form and fashion is being made up as we go. and we're trying to do it as safely as possible. Hopefully, I don't
Right.
know. Watching a ton of games last weekend, a lot of crowd shots of just people like, oh, we're gonna enforce masks and social distancing. Then they pan to the crowd, and no, you're not. Not
It
you're
was
not.
the
You're not even making a
FSU
pretense
game.
of it.
It was that FSU game where they had that blonde girl. It's like masks will be enforced, and she's just there smiling right at the camera, no
Yeah,
mask. So, but it almost feels like, and it almost feels like we're NASA came up with a plan to go to the moon, but they said we're gonna but it the plan is that it's going to launch and we're going to build the rocket and everything else on our way to the moon. I think it kind of almost feels like that, where it's like, yep, we're the Saturn V launched, now we're kind of building and figuring everything out to
yeah. I mean, it's yeah, where it's just everything's on the fly. Whether it's in terms of you see schools, creating a schedule on the fly,
yeah.
in terms of how they're going to play or who they're going to play, when they're going to play, and then kind of the manner in which they get there in terms of protocols and
Right.
testing, and like we have certain benchmarks now of, okay, what's the bare minimum number of players that an FBS team needs to have in order
Mm-hmm.
to field a team, and there's some the Big 12 has the rule of 53, but then there's also verbiage beyond that where if you have under 53, you can play under certain, like, it's just everything is just being made up on the fly, and
Yeah.
that's the corner that society and called sport has like kind of backed itself into, just by
Right.
the intent that we're going to push ahead regardless of this global pandemic. All right, so let's try to figure out the best and safest way to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be a real bumpy road, just like it has been so far through 2-3 weeks.
Right. It's almost as if, and again, that's why I was looking forward to this conversation because, like I said, it's going to be more of a therapy session for me because I can start thinking about not all the negative bits, but now it's like it's almost as if, yeah, we're going down this bumpy road, and come hell or high water, we're going to have football. But it's almost as if maybe the positive things that come out of it is that there's going to be some sort of new innovation or process that helps next season, right? And I think that's the only thing I can. That's kind of the positive spin I can put on it.
Yeah, I mean it could be a good trial run. You just hope that the cost is, there's not like a severe cost to that trial run, that you don't see
Right.
people get seriously sick, or worst case scenario, people die as a result of pushing forward ahead of football.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so
And even then, the Big Ten is saying that it's $1 million to do daily testing for the few weeks they're going to. I don't know if that's. I think I remember seeing that tweet, but I don't know if that's still the
yeah,
case.
yeah, all the the advancements of testing, and now that with this this partnership the Pac-12 has with the schools, it's gonna be rolling out with the daily testing. Then I mean, there's a worthwhile, legitimate conversation. You have all these resources that are
Right.
going to the college football and getting that process underway. I mean, if someone were to say, why are these resources not rerouted to healthcare workers or people,
Hmm.
frontline, stuff, or public schools? There's that strong push to get kids back in schools. Why aren't those resources going to those areas, instead going to college
Exactly.
football? I mean, that's a very extremely valid point, but at this point, with the way things are, I mean, these resources are going to go to college football, and so it's going to be, you just hope that the powers that be are able to make the best, most prudent, and wise decisions to get this, to conduct the game and the sport that we all love, that we want back, in the best possible manner, given that the inevitability of further pitfalls coming on a daily basis.
Exactly. No, and that's. I think Northwestern was making the same exact points. Right. It's like you are spending all this money on testing the football team. Why aren't you spending the same exact money to protect the student body, so we can be on campus and attend our classes and so forth? Right. So
And then,
again,
yeah, but down in Georgia, you had the whole thing. Oh, yeah, we're gonna have fans and stands, but voting not so much.
no,
And then,
don't do that.
yeah,
No.
but thankfully they wisely kind of after they got roasted, online, have, walked that back. So I mean,
Who tweeted? Who said that? Someone, I don't know if it was someone said someone in a suit and tie sat down at their desk and wrote this whole announcement thinking this was a smart move, right? And it's
there's
just
a
like
lot of those things going on. Yeah.
so it's just amazing that how all of that is going on. But now bring it back closer to home, right? What have you heard? So shout out to Hod Rubino, of course, and if you're not a member of the Devil's Digest Huddle, there's a lot of points he has made in there. I won't reveal all of them, obviously. And again, shout out to Andrew Taylor and Adam Blomker. Good to see you guys. Um, they say that they're being very meticulous and very careful, and even then, Coach Herm said that he's actually optimistic to returning to the field. Is there anything that you have heard with your ear to the ground or whatever else it is relative to what ASU is doing or what their feedback has been with the season possibly coming back?
I mean, obviously, you think that just from the events of the last this week and last few days that it's a matter of when
Right.
the Pac-12 season returns, and or I should say, when this fall the Pac-12 season returns. The Pac-12 put out a statement, not too long ago. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to reconvene their leadership group on Thursday. I
Thursday.
believe that's the 24th, to make the final decision. But I think with all the folks out there connected with sources within the hierarchy there, it seems like all signs are pointing to a November 7th start. Shortened season, so they're going to try to get in line as best they can
Mm-hmm.
with getting in with the other conferences. What you don't know if
Right.
in terms of playoff possibilities or whatever, but as Herm mentioned, it's probably a shortened season, even shorter than the truncated one that we had
Right.
in the revised schedule. Maybe 6 7 games or so. In terms of what you're going to see, so obviously you're playing your divisional opponents, and then
Right.
it'll be interesting to see how they do the cross division stuff. Just from a competitive balance standpoint.
Of
I mean,
course.
somebody's gonna draw like Washington UW as opposed to like Wazoo or something. So that'll be interesting. But it just there's the inevitability now. I mean, thankfully the Pac-12, I guess, didn't get didn't put them embarrass themselves like the Big Ten did in this whole
Right.
situation. I mean, there obviously is a lot to criticize the Pac-12 for, and we could probably dive into that. But
We will.
uh,
There's a lot that they mishandled from a
oh yeah,
non-COVID perspective.
yeah. But I think if cutting through all that, bottom line, it looks like that early November, that first weekend in November, is probably going to be when you see Pac-12 football make its return, and it'll be interesting to see how it happens. Because I mean, we've gotten, especially in Arizona, we've gotten to a better point from a virus perspective in
Right.
terms of things are now under control, or better under control. Numbers are a lot better than they were after Ducey prematurely opened up the state
Mm-hmm.
a few months ago, and then Arizona was the world's hotspot. But
Right.
you still have those issues in California and Oregon. I believe the Bay Area schools are still working through the process.
Yes.
And, whereas the LA schools got some better clearance.
Right.
Looking things are looking good in Oregon, so it's just a matter of time. And I think that's why Pac-12, gave themselves some extra time putting that for Thursday. Probably, so you don't know if I mean you probably get the return to play then. Don't know if we'll see like an actual schedule, but
Right.
in terms of games, but I expect on Thursday, you'll probably have a time frame of like November 7th start. Here's when camps can start and all these other benchmarks. But so you just said, football is going to come back. It's not a matter of should it be, but I mean it is, and
Going
now the
to.
question is, how do we do it as safe as possible?
Exactly. And yeah, because I mean, I was thinking about that because everyone wants, again, that's the whole drive nowadays. We want the answer now. We want the decision to be made and we want to be able to tell it. But that's actually kind of smart with what the Pac 12 did because, as I understand it, clearance to play and practice is given at the county level. So they have to, they're probably busting their ass working with everyone that wherever, whatever county, Eugene and Corvallis and, San Mateo here where Stanford is, and then Alameda, which is actually interesting. I learned that the Berkeley is actually managed by the city of Berkeley, not the county. Go figure. So they got to get city clearance, and then LA County. So they got to get all the approvals. So then this way they can say on Thursday, we got all the approvals. Go. That's the only thing that I can think of now is
Yeah,
why
'cause
that happened.
I mean, it's my understanding that some of the local government agencies and officials are wanting to see plans from these the member institutions
Right.
as to how they're going to conduct these things before these exemptions, which the pro teams in the Pac-12 footprint have already been
Right.
using. And you see the Rams, Chargers, and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
they've been using that. So it's my understanding that they just want the officials want to see, all right, so we're going to give
Right.
it to you. How are you going to execute on the safety plan? Because
Exactly.
getting around that whole cohort plan of hey, do your practices 5-on-5 or mental rep, put on the VR goggles and get ready for football.
No, exactly, exactly. It's going to be quite the busy winter session too, because basketball is going to be starting at the end of November.
November
So that's
25th, I
going to
believe.
be
Yeah,
kind of craziness too. And I believe so. The Chanticleers are up. They are. It's 43-15 over Campbell, by the way. So
I'm starting the Grayson McCall Heisman 2020 campaign.
as everyone should. I mean, I don't think there's anyone else that has been as impressive. So, but like I said, I tweeted that out. Been a Clears fan since they beat the other team in baseball, whatever
Oh,
year
that's
that
right.
was.
Yeah.
That was. I was there in a hotel, biting my nails because I didn't want them to win it, but they they lost, and some lady was hitting on me the entire time. So it was a good night. In Denver. I had a good time. It was actually in Denver, so shout out to Denver. So one of my
There you go.
last times I was out there. But yeah, but that's just I think that's why we don't have our answers because they have to put all their plans and everything else together so this way they know what to do. And I think they're going to come out a lot better than the Big 10, but I just I don't know, man. Is it almost a benefit to the Pac-12? Watch the Pac-12 not have one single game canceled because of tracing or infections, right?
There's
Because
worse things in the world than taking your time and getting things right. And they at the time, was it August 11th that they made the decision to
Mhm.
kick the season. That that's probably the most prudent choice
Right.
given what they had. But with the advances of testing and getting things in a better benchmark, um,
Right.
and all the local COVID numbers, now it's a different ball game. I mean, we talked about it in the last show of just what we knew a month ago compared to now, and then
Right.
what we know a month from now compared to what it's these are the advancements, and you just got to in a sport that is typically so rigid in terms of its scheduling and how
Yeah.
things are parsed out in the benchmarks, and you're scheduling games 20 years down the road, and every part of the calendar is mandated by NCAA yeses and nos, but this is the year that none of that matters, and so you just gotta ride with it. And I just keep going back to the Fresh Prince gift where he just the whole
That's all
attitude
you
just
can
like,
do. Just like because you
oh,
can't all you.
Pac-12's not going to play.
Eh.
Pac-12's going to play. All right, cool. I mean, because you don't know, and things are going to change, and we don't know which way. Maybe a little from column A, a little from column B, but
Right.
just gotta roll with it. And just and first, if we just, I just hope that people don't lose sight of just make sure these kids and coaches and families and everybody stay, stay safe, and then everything else beyond that, go for it, get it if you can, and you know,
That's a fair point. I think that's lost, right? Because again, because everyone's focused on their own entertainment, right? It's not necessarily the protection of the kids and their families. It's like, okay, football, 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 because that's always a thing. I don't know what kind of interactions you have, but I had to step away from it. Even with the handful of interactions I had, I had to step away from look, there's a lot of people a hell of a lot smarter than us working on this, and for us to be able to do rudimentary math to disprove everything is I just it was there was this one there's one picture of was it Bill Murray? He's golfing and he kind of there's a picture of him. He's just throwing his putter and he's just like all annoyed and it's just a caption under it just says I'm done. I
yeah,
wish it was gift, but I was just like yeah, I'm done. I'd so
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of gross takes out there, and the idiotic Clay Travises of the world and all that garbage that just people just it doesn't take so much to just be smart, be prudent, be empathetic about everything.
you didn't
But
watch Clavis's interview, and I don't say his name, but Clavis. You didn't say Clavis's interview of the person that's the head of the executive branch of the United States.
God, no. No, I have yeah.
That was at 5
Both those
a.m.
folks are blocked on my Twitter, so they don't show up in my feed.
and
So
that was 5 a.m. Pacific anyway. So, and I was actually up at that hour because I had a meeting at 6, so I had to prep for it. But I didn't. I was like,
I mean,
anyway,
it's just it's simple. Like we everybody on whatever side, I mean, we all can agree that we want football. We
right?
want our normal lives back, but you gotta just listen to the science and the common sense, and you we want these things. I want football back so bad. You want football back
Absolutely,
so bad. Everybody watching this wants football back so bad. But, let's do it the right way. Let's make sure that if we are proceeding and Pac-12 is
right.
coming back in a matter a couple months, then let's do it the best way we possibly can with the tools and knowledge and insight that we have right now and moving forward.
Jiminy Christmas! I just still can't get over that thought where Pac-12 is taking a week to go ahead and plan themselves and wait for approvals, and Pac-12 is going to wait till November 7th, which is a full week after the Big Ten and everything else. I can't but help to think that they're, the conference is just going to come out looking better than everyone. I don't know how. I don't know why. It's a feeling, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Pac-12 leadership has been enjoying the Big Ten being the punching bag, and rightful. I mean, Big Ten brought it on themselves for a number of reasons, and they're
Right,
bungling and mishandling of this whole thing, which they might have done the right thing for wrong reasons, or I don't know, or just in a wrong way or something.
right,
But there's meanwhile, people can, and as we talked about, the Pac-12 is certainly not in a position to say that they have not made any mistakes. They certainly have in this and a lot of other things. But there's worse things in the world to sit back, see how things survey the landscape, be smart, work orchestrate that deal for the
right.
testing and just kind of better. I guess better late than never, but also better safe and safer than you know
Exactly.
haphazard.
It's interesting too because I don't think there's been any talk. Is it going to be a divisional schedule or is it going to be kind of like, okay, here are the 5 teams you play?
I would imagine that it's got to be, you start with the base of your 5 division teams
Right.
because you got to play those, and then I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, what if they maintain, if they just maybe build it from scratch in terms of just
Okay.
like the home and away. Because if you're looking at like a 6 game schedule, obviously you're going 3 home, 3 road. If you're just kind of based on the traditional, every other year you're swapping your divisional. If that
Right.
just kind of goes by the wayside and just resume picks up again in 2021,
Hmm.
and then this year you just build it from total scratch, throw ping pong balls in a hopper or something along
Exactly.
those lines. You just build it out there and just let fate decide the schedule, or I don't know if they're going to try to do anything beyond that. But I think in a weird ass year like this, just might as well just keep it keep it random, keep it fair. Let don't try to shoehorn any kind of that like what should have been into this weird year.
Yeah.
This so just
Yeah,
let the
because
chips fall where it may.
I think it would have been, I think it would be lunacy for us to travel to Oregon State for whatever reason. It's all, but and again, the reason I'm a fan of this is that one, it still gives them time to rest, but also two, it's not in the freezing ass cold, you know. But again, we probably, I don't know. Well, Utah and Colorado are pretty freezing, but if they can make those home games for us, then there's no
Yeah, I
need to
mean
worry
Utah
about
is
it.
supposed to come down here this year or on the in the original schedule in the
Right.
rotation. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think a while back, I think on the last show, it's talking about I figure just it might be just easiest just go 5 and then um, play your division,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a round robin, a divisional round robin, then whoever is the best out of that, they play in the title game. But
That's
sounds
it.
like they want to maybe have a couple more games, maybe push everybody to 6,
Right.
and so they have that balance of home and away,
Mm.
and then top 2 teams play for the Pac-12 title, and then everybody else just plays a 7th game. I don't know, maybe they match it up. Just the ones play the ones, the twos play the twos,
That would be cool.
or
Yeah.
something along those lines. So, well, I guess we'll see. I mean, there's probably going to be
There's
lot
a
to
lot.
discuss. A lot of probably based on what we've seen so far, a lot of changes and pivots in here in
Exactly.
the coming days. And so,
Exactly.
it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens. Now that we know pretty much that it's going to happen, it's just no matter what
Right.
form it takes.
It's very interesting because Ralph said something out there. It's like it's Pac-12 getting bullied by Clavis and the Big Ten to let go of their scientific feedback and go ahead and play football. So let's see that we had a very active chat. So I want us first and foremost shout out to the Queen of Levine, Res Devil. He is here, so lovely to see him as well. Andrew Taylor, good job. PJ, how are you? Sun Devil House, and then Chris Talley. Everyone is drinking all kinds of stuff, and obviously Rez is expressing his love for everyone in the chat. So that's always fantastic to have.
How's Rez and Kim doing?
Uh, he always posts pictures of. I mean, they seem to be in love.
Yeah,
They're in
seem to be
love.
getting out and around.
I mean, I'm kind of baffled that his truck keeps getting ripped off, or he always has to fix his truck when it's like, why doesn't she just buy him one? But I guess maybe she wants him to earn his dollar. I don't know.
Got to work for it.
That's what I think it is. He has to work for everything in his relationship with her. So I don't know. That's what I always told. I've always maintained that with Mrs. Jedi ASU. It's like, look, if I had to leave for someone for you, it would be someone that's wealthy, so this way I could take some of their money and give it to you. I would embezzle because I still love you. I would embezzle because I love you. Campbell, let's see, 43-15, 4:30, 3:42 left in the fourth quarter. This really had some potential, but it seems like Coastal Carolina may be the truth this year, so we shall see.
Sunbelt's good. Like, it's been good. Like, they're like people like to just kind of dismiss G5. There is a lot of good football teams in the G5.
Absolutely.
I mean, and like Coastal is every year there's some new teams that just kind of emerge, and I mean obviously the Americans got a ton of good teams, and then you get the Sun Belt obviously doing what they're doing.
Right.
CUSA is doing their thing. There's a lot of good football that I think people overlook just because it's Group of Five, and those Tuesday,
shame.
Wednesday, Thursday games, man, there's some gems, and flip over to
Absolutely.
CBS Sportsnet on a Saturday. There's a lot of good.
Love
Mountain West is
CBS
back and all that.
Sportnets. Absolutely. I mean, it's just well, like the image I put up, Memphis. Memphis is always good to see, and then App State and all those other ones.
Isn't that crazy that with the rule this year, and this year not basically counting for eligibility, and then so Brady White could have 4 full years as a starter at Memphis, in addition to his year at ASU, the red shirt, then 2016, and then like 7 years for this dude.
I posted a highlight yesterday. I don't know if it was the Utah highlight or whatever it was, but I posted one out there from 2015, and he was in the highlight. It's like, that's Brady White. I'm like, that clip is 5 years old. So I mean, it's like he's still playing.
Joe and I sat down with Brady on signing day, 2015 February, and since I believe he was an early enrollee, he was already on campus, and so like we ducked into like their media room at the Carson Center, and we're at a table with him. We're talking with him for the podcast, and like he looks so young, and like just like literally like it was
he
pretty
was
shocking
a
even
baby.
then. And then you figured like that's full 5 years ago, and then he still got more eligibility after this year. So good for him.
How did that work out? I mean, what? So he's got his undergraduate, he's attorney, and now he's working on like a doctorate or something.
It must be. I mean, or maybe it's the Matt Leinart school of thought of just I'm technically we had ballroom dancing or something. Like, he had like one weird credit, so he was technically a student, and
he could. And then what? Now he's going to win Dancing with the Stars. Now
there you go.
You'll see he's gonna keep going and keep going, or he's gonna turn into Buckaroo Banzai. That's an '80s shout out where he's a surgeon and he's a rock star and God knows what else he is. So
there we go.
Let's see. Let's see, Paul. You know how the teeny boppers used to rip singers' clothes off? Groupies did the same thing to Rez vehicles. Rez has truck groupies that take all his junk off his truck.
Rez truck groupies.
Of all things, I mean, it's like, but again, I guess the only thing he gets out of it is to be able to buy more parts and the time to be able to work on his truck.
Insured.
I guess too.
Start a GoFundMe for him, just replacing these parts.
Well, I guess he said that it was insured, and then he totaled it, but then he bought it back, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I've never, I don't know what that means. I mean, if I totaled it, then I'd be like next. I'd be, and I would not be looking backwards. So anyway, but yeah, so I mean, it's just this has been good. This has been good because now I can start seeing. Because again, I was jaded for a while, just because I had to distance myself from Twitter and not be online the entire time. But then again, go ahead and being able to talk about it objectively and thinking about, okay, let me step away and go ahead and kind of think about what else is going on, what else can happen, what else is good relative to everything else that's going to come down. It's just limping along to that point. And so,
The
yeah,
theme of 2020.
limp along, limp along. So, but it's forward progress, right? We can't complain about making forward progress.
Yeah, I mean, with it's a situation like, all right, so the momentum makes it inevitable. We're gonna have football, and just all right, let's clumsily join hands and walk forward and try to figure this the hell out because it's gonna happen. Let's try to
Right.
not step on the too many landmines along the way.
Exactly.
But I mean, it'll be good, and we're hopefully it works, and this testing is good and is accurate and is proactive as everybody is making it out to be.
Right.
We'll see when things get going. Because yeah, maybe the doom and gloom that because I remember a couple not too long ago, maybe a month or so ago, I was talking to somebody at ASU, in their athletic department who's had connections with schools around the country, and it was pretty dire and it was pretty bleak that there were a lot of schools and the other conferences that were still going to play that they were thinking it was just a matter of time before the cancellation, but then things can change as we've seen. That things a lot of things change in a terrible horrific way this year, but maybe there's some glimmers of hope that we're starting to get a better hang of this. We're starting to see some better countermeasures or some protocols.
Right.
So we're starting to see some things that we thought were going to work didn't work, but maybe failure is the best teacher. So then you learn those lessons, you apply them, you
Yes.
move forward, and hopefully we get through everything. And
If failures, so two things of that. One, I think the rapid testing that Pac-12 announced, I think reinforced what the remaining three conferences were doing. Right? It's like, okay, we just need to get our hands on this testing, be effective about it, and then we can go ahead and proceed as we thought. So I think that was. It's kind of like the Ahmed Best is the father of motion cap digital performance, right? It was, and so I think Pac-12 is going to be the father of, look, you know what? If you test, you use this rapid testing, you're going to be okay, right? But the other thing too that you said, what is it? What about failure? Say that again.
failure is the best teacher. I mean, I'm sure there's a proverb somewhere that says it
So,
more eloquently, but yeah, I
well,
mean,
I mean, to that end, Larry Scott should be the smartest person on the planet. With the amount of the stuff that we've had to always go ahead and go through.
well,
So
I think that's maybe more of a student thing. Well, failure might be the best teacher, and you can be a great teacher, but if that student doesn't want to learn,
yeah,
it doesn't
and
matter
that's
how good a
always the
teacher
case.
you are, you can't break through that.
Have you talked to anyone at ASU recently about the current state
Well, I mean, in terms of some stuff,
nationally there and so forth? If you can talk about it.
something that I will say that there's a sense of optimism.
Okay.
Even beyond football, I know on the basketball side of things, there is a lot of optimism in terms of
Right.
being able to get a season underway. I know Pac-12 hasn't officially said that they're going to roll back. They're because the start of basketball was included in the initial postponement to
Right.
2021. So, but I mean, there's a big sense that the basketball team, which so many fans were thinking that typical ASU we get a generational talent and Josh Christopher for everybody knows one season only.
Right.
Remy and Lonzo coming
Remy comes
back, and
back.
it'll be the most ASU thing ever that the season gets canceled or pushed. And but there's now a real sense of optimism that on the basketball front it's going to be they're going to be able to do their thing, make their run, and
Right.
hopefully see these guys get to take their chance and see what they can do.
And I think
And I was
and
just in football too. Just
right.
there seems to be some optimism there. Is that just so maybe we'll have like kind of that as they did on August 11th, where they kind of said, all right, so here's our plan for not just football but everything.
Right.
So that could be just why taking some more time, being prudent in terms of the announcement coming up on the 24th.
And I think that's why I'm a little bit more optimistic with basketball happening, because I think we talked about this too as well, is that we're seeing and hearing about plans in September, right, for something that's going to happen a good 60 days away. Where if we were hearing about this in late October, I'm like, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. So I think, again, maybe that's why they're not as hype for pushing football, right? Because, again, they're more focused at making basketball work, because NBA proved the bubble. So if you can go ahead and stick to a semi bubble or even the pods like we had seen elsewhere, right? It'll probably prove itself. It seems to be a model to work. And I
Yeah,
think that,
basketball obviously lends itself a little bit better or
right,
more apt to, bubble pod or whatever you want to do. Just, have, home and homes and just, in terms of limiting travel and just having, four teams for, per weekend or whatever,
right.
do their stuff in conjunction with the rapid testing. So, hopefully everything gets to go on a basis there as well.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm really like I said, I think I'm more excited about basketball actually having legs to happen rather than anything else. And so, because again, I don't think it's, how do I put this? It's not getting as much political attention as football is, which is interesting. So I think it's because if it's just letting it happen, it's organically happening where people can actually think about what to do and actually allow it to happen as well. Oh, the
Yeah,
game.
I mean, just it's but football's America's sports. Everybody's talking about that. It's the here and now, and it's the cash cow. So
And that's what I wanted to say, right? Because I think I saw a tweet out there. Someone said, explain college football to me and why is that the greatest thing that Americans love? And that happens to be our passion. That's what we've grown up with. I think it almost because maybe it's our sport in the sense that it was started or founded or created here in the States, but I don't know. The only thing I can think of is from, it's not even from a monetary perspective, right? Because I mean, I don't know what like Bundesliga or Premier League makes relative to NFL, right? Are they multi-billion-dollar company or leagues like the NFL? I don't know.
yes,
And so, and then there's multiple of them, right? But because there's Bundesliga, there's the Spanish leagues, there's the Premier League, there's all of those, right? So I mean,
yeah. But I think if you take the finances out of this, I
okay,
mean, that's why college football and the effort is as strong as it is. Even I think if you take the money element out of it, then I don't think you're have any football going on. But I mean, just the finance, because it is such a revenue generator. It is
right,
such a lifeline for colleges, for universities, for athletic departments, for communities.
right,
That rely on just game day revenue
mm-hmm,
and businesses and everything that is tied to
all of
college
that,
football. Um,
right,
that it's just too costly, and it goes back to that, should there be
mm-hmm,
college football? And there's different answers for that. I mean, maybe the most prudent is no, but all
right,
right, for all these other reasons, yes.
right,
And it's just a matter of at what cost. And so that's where all these the protocols and testing, all the stuff we talked about.
right.
So everything is it is. I think that there it's clear as day that this is all driven by money, like
It
no
still is,
shocker, just like everything else. But
and it is, and it's much more on display. And the other thing is that with all these games being canceled, are they getting paid for those? I mean, who was it that said? Who was it that they just? I think it was Houston. They're saying like their first, like they haven't played a game. Every single game that they had lined up got canceled for some reason or other. So, have they gotten paid for any single one of those games? Right?
yeah, I mean, because they had with the postponement and the Wazoo cancellation, and then two
BYU,
postponements back to back, and then so
exactly. So it's like they're not getting paid until they. So it's like they've been
maybe it's
here.
the universe trying to tell them something. I don't know. I don't know, man.
It's again I've had that I've been talking that way since March, and like I said, I just cracked and I couldn't anymore. But you're absolutely right. Is the universe telling us something? But again, I would say this sarcastically, but again, this is to the point, right? If the SEC ACC and the Big 12 are able to figure out how to play a sport in a global pandemic when the rest of the planet couldn't, then you know what? It just benefits us all. But it's just, I don't know. I just, it's just, anyway.
It's like, yeah, just you could either stay home and wait things out, or venture out onto a dangerous path and just all right, so take it slow, take it cautiously, and hopefully you get to where you're going. But
Right.
we'll see. We're a few weeks out.
And
Yeah,
it,
I mean, it's still going, and you just don't know. I mean, anybody who says they know how things are going to go or what is exactly going to happen, I mean, that they're obviously just you're full of it. But
they're
whatever. I mean,
lying.
we just gotta, again, it just goes back to, I mean, just don't get too wrapped up in it. Just take it as it goes. Kind of
Right.
maybe
Right.
emotionally divorce yourself with just. I see so many people just like living and dying on every little update and source of just
That was
saying
me.
things are going this way
Yeah.
and that way, and just
Guilty.
serenity now. Just hold on. I mean, eventually things will get back to normal. For the here and now, just just ride with it. I mean,
Yeah.
because people are going to do the best they can,
Yep.
and there's going to be mistakes. There's
Right.
going to be successes,
And that's the
and just
interesting thing. We can't make mistakes, which is interesting. And it's like we can't make mistakes in trying to figure out a global pandemic. I think a lot of people are holding a lot of receipts for the wrong thing in that respect, right? Because I think was it Ralph or it was someone else that tweeted, it was a quote by someone. It's like when I find out new information, I change my mind. What about you? Right. And so it's something to that effect, right? Where it's like if you're able to critically think about something, then if you're able to, then you're allowed to change your mind. And so I think that's really something that a lot of people are expecting everything to be right out of the gate when just can't. It's
it's what smart people do. Like, when if you have new information, then you take it in, you reevaluate,
right,
and the smart folks aren't just stuck into one set of belief, and damn everything else. That it's
right,
you can't do that, especially as we talked about when we last talked. This quick testing wasn't there, and things looked pretty bleak. But all of a
right,
sudden, you have new information in terms of this ability to diagnose things on a day in, day out basis, in a matter of minutes. And then all of a sudden, things become a little more manageable. And then you learn that these some protocols work really well, some don't, and
right.
or the science, with the myocarditis, and being able to have the screening in place for that as well. And then there's like 1,000 different plates that everybody's got to be spinning and running
Yeah,
back and forth and trying to and prevent a break. But some are going to fall, some are going to break. But just at the end of the day, man, you just hope you get through it.
right,
You hope nobody get the plates breaking is in terms of like games canceled, or you don't maybe crown a Mountain
right.
West champ or something like that, rather than hey, some people lost their lives or have conditions that are going to be with them for the rest of their lives or something along those
Exactly. And that, yes, and again, is that it's just so new. It's all still so new. I mean, we only have 6 months worth of data, right? 6 months worth of data. I mean, it's just like I can only imagine what we would be like if Twitter was around when polio came out and everyone's crapping their pants. It's like, no, you can't. No, it's like we got to find something now and this and that and everything else. When it took them years to find something, right? And so it's just maybe as
again.
humans we've never been that good anyway.
Oh no, humans are the worst. Yeah. And then yeah, hey, let's throw flu season into all this too. Let's just
Yay!
throw it all, man.
Do you do flu shots?
Oh, yeah. I tried. I missed last year, but I usually try to get them. Yeah,
Okay.
because
We don't.
um,
We don't. That's why I'm asking. We've never
you
done.
don't.
Us as a family have never done flu shots as long as my kids have been around. And
Why is
again,
that?
it's just never felt the need. Never felt the need, and never really. The one thing was is like when you get the shot, you get sick. So we just never did it. I mean, it's not saying that we got the flu or symptoms, right? But it was just like we just never felt a desire to get it, right? And was it going to be better or worse? And this year we're kind of like on the fence about it. We're like, probably not. And it's just It's just I have a friend who does it religiously. I'm like, okay, cool, all right, but I mean, we're probably not doing it this year for whatever reason.
Where do
So
you stand on like the COVID vaccine? Whenever, I mean, obvious, are you first in line on day one? Or are you gonna like be waiting to something a little more prudent and some reliable
right.
vaccines, or
So
is it just never?
so I equate it to the way I adopt technology, right? I absolutely I was moments away from buying the Samsung Fold. And all the reports came out and everything and I said, "You know what? I'm going to sleep on it for a week." Obviously, I didn't sleep for a week, but I'm like, "I'm going to give myself a week and we'll see what's going on." And then all those issues were out there. And so I love being an early adopter. I absolutely adore it. But with the vaccine, no. I think that someone said that there's like 3 rounds and then it's like the general availability or something like that. So it's like to the third, like someone was saying out there, it's like they're not going to take it until the third round of test, after the third round of testing, right? It's just before generally available. And so that's kind of where I'm going to wait on it as well. So that's me. I'm not going to jump into it. I'm not going to jump into the pool. I love to early adopt, but that's not the one I'm going to adopt early.
Yeah, a little different from like like I get a new iPhone when I'm in that annual upgrade program, and so like, but yeah,
Exactly.
when it's getting injected into me, um, but yeah, I mean,
That's a
plus I
little
think
different.
yeah. Plus, I think you see a lot of the reports now, but just kind of roll out like some actual common sense of like the first people that should be getting it are the people healthcare workers and people at higher risks and
Right.
somebody like me I can wait. I can still I don't mind doing the distancing, staying home, masking up, whatever
Right.
that's fine for getting the people that are at higher risk or need it more than I do. But at some point, when the science
Of course.
um, says it's cool, and
Right.
man, it's just it's such a weird time. Who'd have thought a year ago today that where we would be?
That's actually what I'm going to do because I want to. Let's talk about what we were doing a year ago this weekend because I don't know what was going on from an ASU football perspective, but we'll talk about it.
The
But
Yeah, it was like what the 14th last. So they just beaten this day last year. They just beaten Michigan
so
State.
we were flying high and we're ranked and okay,
Yeah.
so it felt like a good weekend. But my question is, and I know Crafty is going to be joining us in a couple minutes to give us talk through his new segment. But are you still playing hockey on Thursdays?
Yeah.
And so, how is
Actually,
that going? Because my friend, my dear friend, plays a lot of hockey. He lives in North Carolina, and so there's a very specific gym where they're still able to play. So, how about you guys?
yeah, we're still doing it. Actually, in one of my leagues last night,
Okay,
we're game gets started, and all of a sudden, the guy in the other team is like super good. Like it's I play in a good league. Like
okay,
it's good. There's highly talented players, but then there's a guy that was just like demonstrably way too good for this league. So it turns out like it was a guy that is a current NHL player, former Yote. I think he's now in Pittsburgh. Um, yeah,
mm.
so he's really good. He scored a few on me, but I did stop him a few times. So I got to stop an NHLer, current NHLer.
Was it like the one of those? I just saw that it was a handicap race where like the Olympian starts like 50 or 100 yards behind everyone else, and then like she just smokes them all the way at the end. Because was it like that where you just have someone that's
You
extremely
could tell he's
talented?
going at like 60%, but he's like still just
He's just that
effortless.
much further.
I mean, we have. Like I said, I play in a good league. That league is a good league,
Right.
and there's some really good guys. But this guy, I mean, it just shows you like world class professional athlete level, and just to guys, just random guys that are playing in beer league hockey that just get. It's so you always see those idiots on Twitter like,
Of
man,
course.
I could go out there and dominate, and I could pick up that first down, or I could
Right.
score 10 points a game in the WNBA. No, you can't. Like, no,
No.
there's it was.
I wish there was a way because I think it would remember that show. It was on, was it Versus or whatever it was? It was called Pros versus Joes. Do you remember that
Yeah.
show? I mean, that was so. I mean, it's just I wish they did it a little bit more seriously. Where it's like, okay, if you think you can run, here is some, even if they just got some like guys out of college, right, and said, okay, here is a college defensive line, and here's some college O line guys, and you're gonna have to try to, you get $10,000 if you gain, you get $1,000 a yard, you know, and if
Yeah, there's that old thing about just all right. So you're an NFL running back. You get 10 carries. Can you gain 10 yards without
no,
dying?
no, I think that would be the case. I think, and I think that would be a good motivator, right? Because it's like, okay, it's $1,000 per yard, positive and negative. So if you get sacked, 5,005 yards back, you owe us 5 grand.
Yeah.
So what do you need? So Jonathan Brooks, how are you, sir? He had a question for you. I'm going to check on the Zoom. Tell us a story of your most absurd save you have ever made.
Oh, geez. Um. Okay. Yeah, this was like
I'm just
way early.
advertising my wine, by the way.
Oh, is it any good?
It's a so it is a brilliant. It's called Technique. It is from the Alexander Valley up in Sonoma, so it's actually just past Healdsburg, so it's to the north, and it's at Trader Joe's, and it's a brilliant $7 bottle of wine. Because
Um.
I'm fancy that way. Your
Nice.
save.
Yeah. So I think it was like years ago. I was probably in my teens at the time. And so they're coming on an odd man rush. So I was like 2-on-1, and so I'm to my glove side, the guy in the puck. He shoots it. I make the save off my blocker. It kind of, but it like kind of flutters a little weird, and basically is like right on the tape of the guy on the backside. And so like I basically have time to turn around, and it just I felt like kind of Andre Agassi, the dated reference, because by the time it was just like he just had to tap it in to score. It's wide open, but I just basically had time to like get my stick over and just like kind of forehand, just like blind luck, whack. Man, yeah, and some miracle got on the paddle and just shot it,
You cleared it
saved
out.
it. Like it didn't went, it's like center ice, but it was like just whack. Like okay, like it's just the ugliest, like luckiest thing, but that was probably the most absurd thing. But yeah, that was God like 20 years ago now.
That's funny, man. That's.
But yeah,
Do you still have that flexibility?
it's weird,
Me neither.
the saves that are in just saying the mental aspect of goaltending, coming on angles and all that stuff. I'm finding, just that's one thing, and then having the 38-year-old body execute that mental strategy,
That
that
meant
vision
that muscle memory.
with the same reflexes and time and speed.
Right.
Father time's undefeated, man.
It's like you could do it, it's just not as fast.
I envision, I see how it playing out. I see the guys and all the angles but they're just totally different. Then they throw an NHL guy into the mix, and all of a sudden, it just
How did
makes me
they
look ridiculous.
how did they get a ringer though? Do other teams bring in a ringer, or he just happened to be, oh, come on and join us?
From what I heard, like it's kind of like their off season, so
Meaning they're not
he would
playing
just
for
kind
the.
of like he had bought a place when he was with the Yotes.
Okay.
They came back here, and just kind of was like found a place to skate. Was talking to the owner, and just like, hey, just jump in. So I don't know how long he'll be in. Hopefully, he's not around too long unless he switches to our team.
Then it's
Um,
okay. Then it's okay.
yeah, because it's like, and it's weird. Like he's the second NHLer I've played against, but he's the first active NHLer.
Oh, interesting. So then there have been retired NHLers that you played
Yeah,
against?
like years ago, I
Okay.
played it. Like there was a guy who played. It's kind of a journeyman. He spent most of the time with the Red Wings, and so
Okay.
I'm at my 20s at the time. Most of the players in the league were probably in their you know teens, mid 20s,
Okay.
and this guy's probably in his 50s, and it just kind of the same thing. Like just you could tell it's just so effortless, and then he fires a shot, and like I stopped a couple of them, and he just hit me in like the shoulder and stuff, and even with my through my chest pad, it just like it hurt different. It left marks,
He was.
which like just everybody else like it pucks didn't, because I had a league skill level appropriate gear. But
Right.
then you throw that guy in the mix, and that hurts.
Even at 50, he still. That's my neighbor. He says hello.
So
So even at 50, he still had that. He was playing. He probably wasn't even balling out either. He was just probably just having
oh yeah,
fun,
just like you
and
could
it
tell
still
that
hurt.
like he just wanted to get out and skate, and just even a retired guy in his 50s is going half speed is just still ripping him off just like ridiculous. And
That's cool. That must be cool. One, it must be cool to be able to say, "Oh, I blocked that or stopped him from getting a goal." But it just must be wild to be able to just witness that, right?
yeah, and it just further illustrates just that there's pro athletes, and then there's us, the big gap, and
The
then
rest of us,
there's the rest of us,
and
our
again,
aspirations.
exactly. And so PJ should be joining shortly, but I have a new game. I wish I don't know.
Uh-oh.
I wish I didn't know. All right, so we were playing this on the Sun Devil Summit, which is October 2nd in a few weeks. So anyway, here's this one. I'm going to read you a question, and there are 4 possible answers. I take that back. I'm going to read a question. There's 4 answers. One of them is correct. You need to pick the correct one. I'll read you the question, and I'll read you the answer. the item that the item with the most calories at McDonald's isn't a burger. Which menu item clocks in at 1,090 calories? A. Large raspberry triple thick milkshake. B. 20-piece box of chicken McNuggets. C. A large McCafe Oreo frappe. Or D. Big breakfast with hash browns and sausage. Which of those 4, A, B, C, or D, clocks in as the most expensive item on the McDonald's menu from a calories perspective?
The Oreo, the C. See the Oreo shake.
What you were right. It's actually the large raspberry triple thick milkshake. We'll have to go to
Pulls you
McDonald's.
with the fruit.
We'll have to figure out how in the world that is. One more question, and then we're going to let PJ in. But I have to change scenes, so we'll figure it out. All right. One question, 4 possible answers. Pick the right one. Thinking about going into the wild, this animal is most likely to kill you. A, hippo, B, lion, C, shark, or D, crocodile. Which of those 4 is most likely to kill you? I know this one, by
Shark
the way.
attacks are relatively rare,
Right? I happen
especially fatal ones. There's like 2 a year or something.
Yeah, and even then, you see, actually, I was watching something on 2020 where this teenager survived one, right? So,
I'll say crocodiles because I'm assuming they're basing this off of kind of like worldwide fatality totals, and people frequent the rivers more. Yeah, crocodile.
it's hippos.
Is it?
They are wicked
They
bastards.
charge.
They are wicked bastards, and I just yeah, they're scary. So, hippos are the ones, and they are frightening. All right, everyone, what I'm going to do is we're going to do a new segment, technical difficulties and all. I'm going to go ahead and switch scenes. All right, Brad, you are the one on the big screen. I'm going to resize myself. I'm going to admit PJ on here, and then we'll go ahead and see how
So
this
it's a night of Moon Valley Rocket alums.
Is that right? Is that right? Let's see here. He's connecting. So let's see if I can change the layout here. Oh, I can. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hide myself and make this
Plus,
all pretty.
I guess I should give away some stickers since I did promise it on Twitter. Anybody who tweets at me at bdenny29 with Grayson McCall for Heisman, I'll send you a 3-pack of SOTD podcast stickers.
Do they need to spell the last name right, or does it matter?
If they can't spell McCall, then
Yeah.
you gotta challenge them, uphold some standards.
I got you. Look at this. I am the greatest in the world. Not yet, but anyway. I can see Brad, and I can see PJ, and you can see me and my crappy camera right here, because this is the low res one, because I have a high res one that everyone. And shout out to the Queen of Levine. Res Devil got the answer for the animal that will kill you the most. It was a hippo, so shout out to the Queen of Levine. All hail the Queen. PJ, how are you, man?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks.
All right. So since we're going to do the same exact thing as we do on the summit, I got two cards for you if you had to. First situation. Which situation do you wish to be in? One, use technology only from the 18th century. Use your steam engines. Or B, you hold the record for the biggest boobs in the world. Which one, A or B? Only use technology from the 18th century or big
I
boobs?
think I'm going to go with B.
Huzzah!
Be
I
the
would
talk
go
of the
that way
town.
too. I would go that way too. Well, welcome to the session. Appreciate
Okay.
you being part of the social club. I had been brainstorming about this one. I cannot appreciate you enough for being open to it as well. So I wanted to know. We're going to make this one a regular. I want to know what your beer of the week is. What do you not necessarily what you're drinking, but what beer do you want to be the beer of the week?
Yeah, I thought about it, and there's been a bunch that I've really liked
Well,
lately, but I thought this
give
would
us
be
give us your
the
three
best
if you
one.
want. This is
I,
number
I'll,
one.
I'll tell you the beers that I've been drinking a lot, and I haven't had this one yet, but it's from Oso Brewing,
Okay.
and it's an annual release they do, and it's got the suicide hotline phone number on there,
Ah,
and they donate $1 for each can or pint sold to the suicide hotline to help fund that. And the owner has had a few friends in the industry that have taken their lives, and I thought it was kind of appropriate with everything that's going on here in the world. You know, a lot of times
absolutely.
you guys were touching on a little bit. People get depressed, and there's always someone there to talk to. So I thought that was the appropriate beer for the beer of the week.
And that is by Oso Brewing. And which one is that?
It's just got the phone number on the can for the suicide hotline.
It's
It's a
not a particular type or.
the New England style IPA that they have out right now. So I haven't had it yet. I'll have it here soon.
Where are they out of?
They're here in Phoenix. They've
Right.
got 4 locations. Used to be a regular spot for us on Monday nights. There's one really close to my house, but
Wonderful. Have
the
you had
beer I'm
that?
drinking right now is something I have never had. I got Fire Squirrel 42 on Twitter. Russ, he's been to a lot of our tailgates and that, but he recommended this from one of his favorite breweries, Little Beaver Brewing, a Little Beaver Brewery, and it's called Magic Mango Inferno, and it's a hazy IPA with mango and habanero pepper, and it is
Oh.
sweet, and then it has that kick at the end. I haven't tasted anything like that on an IPA thing, and it's fantastic.
Is
So
it that good? Because the last chili blend I had was actually one with Hatch chilies,
yeah,
and it's out of New Mexico. I actually had it in Houston. I don't. We talked about this one, but that one has some nice heat, but it's sweet as well, huh?
yeah, we have. There's a couple of breweries here that do a hatch chili
Okay.
style beers, but this is different than what I've had with that. The mango, you can really taste the mango up front, and then the end, your mouth is feeling that habanero.
So the habanero does leave some sting
Yeah,
to it then.
absolutely.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. And so that's actually interesting. So that's called by Little Beaver Brewing. And where are they out of?
I think they're out of Michigan.
Michigan.
That is way too small of writing.
Which reminds me, because I'm trying to figure out, and again, someone in the chat, you may remember this one. There is a brewery in, hopefully I remember this.
It's
In
Illinois, actually. Sorry.
Strawberry, I think it's Strawberry, Arizona. Isn't that a little town that's kind of past, um,
I believe it's that brewing. Strawberry.
is it
Maybe.
Strawberry? Okay, because it's past Payson. And there was one time, it was one Friday after practice, everyone was busy or no one was in town. And I just drove up to Strawberry and there's a brewery out there. Or was it in
That
Pine?
brewing.
Is it that?
Yeah, Adam's been there. We talked about that last time we were in
They
Payson.
have a brilliant chili. They have a brilliant homemade chili. I mean, I did the flight and it was awesome, but I'm like, it's a really nice little, yeah, that brewing. So actually, it was very cool to be able to kind of. I still want to go back, but however, there is a, and I'm again, I don't know, PJ, if you can find this one for me. There is a nutmeg beer. I think it's an IPA. I can't remember, but it's out of Denver, and I remember drinking it one time, and it just the aroma of nutmeg literally just filled my head. I couldn't. It was so good. But anyway, if you ever come across it, let me
Yeah,
know, please.
before I forget, I should have given the number. I apologize. It's 1-800-273-TALK. 1-800-273-TALK. That also brewing.
Have they
beers.
rolled out the? I know like there was like legislation to like have like a national like 3-digit number.
Oh,
That
really? That's
yeah,
interesting.
like so like suicide prevention like a hotline like just 3 digits kind of like 911. I thought that was
I have not
something.
heard of it going through. So
Just chatting with Adam on there. The one that I believe I had, the chili out there at that brewing, had venison in it. So good.
oh wow.
Yeah, so
Venison.
yeah, so I had venison. So one of the so having been a desert rat, and I didn't grow up with my parents were very modest. We didn't grow up learning a lot or a lot of extravagance or eating out or a lot of stuff. So what happened was is that Mrs. Jedi ASU's aunt and uncle, who were very successful and were very used to many of the nicer things in life. When I would come visit Denise, they'd always take me out to these places, these brunches that were more than I could have spent at that time. But there was always these foods, and they was always testing my palate about eating, you know, um, squid and oysters and everything else, and I was able to hold my own. And so the other end is obviously my uncle. He loved to hunt, and so he would always. So then we do that one day, and then we come back later on in the visit, and he's like, "Yeah, here's some venison," and I'd eat it up. So that's why I was. So they exposed me to a lot of stuff in that way. So I remember my aunt telling me, it's like you got to be able to eat like this if you're going to be here in the valley. I mean, Silicon Valley. I'm like, all right, well, is that it? Is that it? That brewing in Cottonwood. Where is Cottonwood? Again, forgive me because I haven't lived in the state in 25 years.
I've lived here basically my whole life, and I couldn't tell you. I've been there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm bad. Like I've lived in Arizona my entire life, and it's somewhere up.
Yeah.
I've never been to the Grand Canyon, and I'm 38 years into
That
living
was
in
my
Arizona.
next question. You've never been to the it's okay because
One
It's
time
over,
for
right?
me.
Mrs. Jedi ASU hasn't. I've actually hiked it twice. I am in my
Outdoors don't have man.
Yeah, it was we did that as well. So it was so now that again, Mrs. Jedi ASU has not been to the Grand Canyon. She wants to. I also want to take the Padawans as well, but being able to do it all, South Rim and North Rim, because the North Rim is a little bit more. And that's right, Adam. Thank you. It's by Jerome, so it's just outside of Jerome. I was going to say one
That's
thing is Arco Santi, because I'm a big sci-fi nerd. Arco Santi is just north of Cordes Lakes and
I've
Bumblebee and
actually
all
been
that.
there.
You've been to Arco Santi, huh?
Yeah.
Is it in any good condition? Because it was the
Oh,
big. Is it?
it had to be 40 years ago.
Oh God! So when it was cool, because now
Yeah.
it's like because it was supposed to be the city of the future, but yeah, they're
Yeah.
not. They can't maintain it anymore.
Yeah.
So what else you got for us? You got one more beer for us that you want everyone?
Yeah,
to
actually, I've there's been a couple actually.
hit us up.
The one brewery that I've been just digging everything they've done. Tara and I've been drinking this. It's from Revision Brewing out of Sparks, Nevada. This is Smashing Sandcastles Hazy IPA, fantastic. And the other one we've kind of been hooked on is this Planet Lovetron. Same thing, another hazy IPA they do. They have another one, Reno as F. Yeah, and it's just absolutely every beer I've had from them has been great. So those have been kind of our main staple. And then the Moonraker stuff, this Juice Nukem double IPA,
Yep.
really, really good. Just super tasty. But
You're
really
talking.
been doing a lot of hazies lately.
I love it. And you were saying Reno as F, where that's out of a Reno brewery, or is
No,
that
it's Revision Brewing out
Revision?
of Sparks, Nevada, actually.
Because we've decided actually we're probably going to do Thanksgiving at Tahoe. It's going to be a little bit. We're going to rent a house. It'll probably be expensive as balls, but it's just going to be the few of us, and we're going to take all the food we need and cook up there and just kind of hang out. So if I can go ahead and find Revision up there,
Yeah. Yeah, you
You
should
know.
you might be able to even find it there where you're at, Rob, because
Okay.
we know they have it at Tornado. They're in San Francisco,
Oh,
Montana.
okay.
They'll typically have something from them. The
Got
other
it.
one, kind of a hot brewery, Bearded Iris. I had it a little earlier. This home style
Mm-hmm.
IPA, um, really really good. They're from like North Dakota or
Well, that's cool.
no, they're from Tennessee. Excuse me. So
They get the distance award today.
yeah, so really good stuff.
Adam is showing you some love in the chat. He's saying that your chin reminds him of Thanos.
Yeah.
So that's how the chat goes. That's how the summits go, and that's how everything else goes. So
That's how every time I'm with Adam goes. So.
well, that's going to be another thing too, because I know that we here were talking about it as well, or hopefully that you guys can go ahead and do a quick, not necessarily a quick tailgate, but you can go to lot 59, get ripped, and then Paige will drive you guys home, and then we'll kind of live stream it from her phone um, on the social club. So this way we can kind of see how much fun
I'm
that
sure
is.
Brad's heard some interesting stories about
Just a few.
our rides home are usually eventful. There's a lot of probably swearing that it's not safe for kids to hear, but no, we love Paige. She's been fantastic, and we've had so much fun. But the tailgates are that's heartbreaking. But I couldn't. I would echo nearly everything you guys talked about in the first hour there. Brad's thoughts and that there's a lot more important things than tailgating and football. I can drink beers at home. I can watch TV games
Right.
at home. I don't need to be in the stands. Saw some of those games earlier. I saw the Chiefs have already someone tested positive in the stands there at a Kansas City game.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like 10 guys or 10 people sitting around him have to quarantine as a result.
yeah. And I was talking to my son in Raleigh about it, and he's big into going to games and stuff. Goes all over, and as do I. And I just, the opportunity presents itself to go to one of these games, and the tickets are going to be astronomical.
Mm.
If you're even able to get one. And it's like, is it really worth spending that much money and risking your life to see a game when I can sit home and watch it on my big screen TV?
Yeah.
You know?
And in your comfort and everything else.
And I get it. It's not the same, but you know, live to see another day, I suppose.
Exactly. Do you think, and again, this is something for Adam too, that you'd be able, do you think you guys would be able to do a socially distanced tailgate? You think you'd be able to pull that off, or would it be just too much legal stuff to deal
I
with?
I mean, half the time people are drinking out of each other's beers. Taste this, try this.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
really, as soon as you see people, that's been the neat thing. Everyone's hugging each other. The second they see each other, we've really developed a community there that's you look forward to seeing everyone each week. So
Absolutely.
I just think it's next to impossible.
Yeah. That I agree. I think it would be nice to hopefully pull something off. I mean, I do something for the Padawans when they come over and visit. I have a friend that's able to come over. I'm like, all right, keep your masks on, do this. If you're eating, you guys got to do this. I set up the tents. So just wasn't sure if it would be something that would be possible, but it's always, difficult to do. But no, so now you're going to have 3, 4 more for us next week.
I'll do my best.
I love the collection that you had. I don't know how many did you have on display on that tweet. It looked
Oh,
like at least
yeah.
10 or
Wall of
12.
beer.
And I went, so I usually go, and I actually stopped by Goldwater this afternoon and saw Y10K. He hooked
Oh,
me
right
up
on.
with some new beers that they had, and always getting the hop chowder. That's kind of
Right.
our staple beer. Tara likes it a lot. Which Brad, by the way, make sure Paige reaches out to me. I've got some of those sours for
Oh, nice.
Layton. I'll give them to her this week if I can.
Outstanding.
But there's a little convenience store on 7th Street off the 101 Union Hills area, and super nice family that runs it. And I try to get down there once every couple weeks and They sell singles and 4-packs, and they get a lot of stuff that's hard to get in Arizona or limited release. Dreckers, a beer that everyone's been talking about. This is the one that's out of North Dakota.
Okay.
The Cuddly Buddy double IPA. Their beers are fantastic. They do a lot of the fruited IPAs, which I'm not a huge fan of. But,
Okay.
So they have them at the convenience store. I like going in there and looking around, just seeing what's new, trying out different things. So
I love those mom and
guys-
pops. I love
Yeah.
mom and pops. There's one, and I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but I don't know if you got a chance. It's Perry's out in Livermore.
No. Oh yes, I think I did actually.
I think
go
you
there.
did,
Yeah,
and
you did go there.
and so there, that's my go-to. If I want to find something difficult, right? That's the place I have to go to. So that's
Yeah.
always it. So
You absolutely did. Yeah.
but I meant to go out to Altamont. I wanted to get. I think that's what I'm going to have to do for the summit, which we have in a few weeks. I'm going to have a growler of oh gosh, I can't even remember. Oh man, I used to drink it all the time. I actually remember I did this actually. I did the math, and let me look it up as well. Hella hoppy. It is a triple IPA, and I would always fill a growler, and I would drink the whole growler during a game, and it was about 9,000 calories.
You can't be worried about calories, Rob. I mean, if you're drinking beer, the calories are
Well, that was a time when I was actually trying to regulate, watch my weight, and so that definitely didn't help. Drinking 9,000 calories in a sitting. So
we got to go there. Actually, one of Adam's buddies, who now one of my friends, took me and my coworker out to Altamont Brewing.
Okay.
Really hopping place. They had a can release that day.
Oh, right on.
We're buying a ton of different beers, but really vibrant brewery.
They're
cool merchandise. They had the A's and the Giants merchandise, but it's at Altamont Brewing, in that style. So,
and it's interesting you say that, right? Because it's in the A's and Giants colors, but it doesn't say Giants or A's. But
right. Yeah, and the script and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were able to get around the marketing,
Yeah.
the marketing brouhaha. But anyway. But I love seeing you. Thank you for this, man. I'm glad you were actually able to make this one happen, and I can't wait to do this one next week with next week's guest, who I'm still lining up, but we will make that one happen. But any words for the week? Anything that you're gonna sample, or you want everyone to remember going into this next week, Crafty? Anything you're promoting? Want them to drink? Want them to enjoy?
No, I think this is a good cause. I'm gonna try it right now. See what it's. Nice East Coast IPA brewed with Strata, Dr. Rudy, and New Zealand Revolution hops. So some different hops.
Those are hops I've never even heard of. Although I'm allergic to Cascade, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely different taste. I like it. Yeah, you definitely. It's good.
Look at
Definitely
Rez.
It's a difference. So
is it okay? Because look at Rez digging something out. Rez is drinking a 2 Women Lager by New Glarus. One, is that a real beer?
So New Glarus Brewing is in Wisconsin.
It is.
They don't distribute outside of Wisconsin.
Don't. So. We talked about that, and my buddy.
The Spotted Cows, they're their main beer, but they make a lot of other really good beers. So
my buddy, who he's my director now at work, but he's a dear friend, actually took me to Wisconsin when we played them in 2010, and he took me for a tour of the New Glarus. Beautiful brewery out there, and he loved this beer that they don't. I've told you this story already, but it's called Ufta, and it was not Spotted Cow, but it was just this big barrel, and he just they don't make it anymore. So if I could find it, he would love me more than he already does. But but thank you, Crafty. I appreciate you, my man. We will do this again. I will send you the link for all this. But as always, whoever has any questions for BJ, send them out to the chat. Thank you, BJ, and everyone else for making the chat so lively. I appreciate it, and we will make that one happen again. So thanks again, sir, and we will talk soon.
All right, take care.
See ya. Let's see. So let's see. I have you in here, so I am gonna see what I can do. See if yep. If you just if you hang up, then we can go ahead and I'm gonna hide myself as well. Look at that. Ha! That is, and I see you. I'm gonna actually.
Multi-boxing.
It's crazy how I need to do all this because now I have to mess with my filters. So this way you don't see me on here, and then I gotta resize you and all this other fun stuff. And it's crazy. Look at that big head. That is Denny. I love all this technical difficulties because it's always fun to figure this stuff out.
Are we still live? You're doing this all on the fly?
It's actually, I am. Yeah, you're seeing
like-
all this the magic in the background right on your screen.
People
So
love the behind-the-scenes stuff.
why not? Why not? I got some questions for you other than the games, and I asked this of everyone else. You probably saw this. I asked this of Nam Le first. I asked it of Kaylin Jones, and now I'm going to ask it of you, and I'm going to ask it of every single guest. So if you are watching,
Same set of questions?
not the same set of questions, but this is the first question's always the same.
Okay.
This is from Rob Lowe. He got this from a Vanity Fair interview. You've never been on Vanity Fair, have you?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, good. Okay, just
They're
making
lost.
sure. Making sure. But he's been on several times, Rob Lowe. And he asked this of David Spade, known Sun Devil, resident of Casa Grande back in the day. And he asked, and if you get a chance to listen to Rob Lowe's literally podcast, it's brilliant. But anyway, question was, it's
that
actually
the name of his podcast?
literally it's literally, but it's brilliant. So he's had Nick Offerman on there. His first episode was with Chris Pratt. So there was the episode,
Reunite the cast.
the episode with Dana Carvey and the episode with Mike Myers. There's two separate episodes. One was Dana Carvey, one was Mike Myers, and they were freaking brilliant. So
Dana Carvey's so good.
I was laughing the entire damn time. I mean, but see, because Rob Lowe painted this picture of Dana Carvey where he's like, Dana Carvey is out to murder you, in the sense that if he is in a scene with you, or if he's on Saturday Night Live, he's out there to, as comedians say, kill you, and kill you with comedy and to squash you into submission. And you're watching this you're listening to this episode, and he just does it. He just doesn't stop, but it's so brilliant how he does it. So, but he said that's how I had to be coming up, because if you didn't kill and you weren't ruthless and you weren't very aggressive in how you were doing and trying to do your best, there were others that were going out there. And he's coming up, when all the greats were coming out, right? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, you listen to like the stories of like from stand-up comedians coming up in like the 70s and 80s, and working like the
Right.
comedy stores in LA, and just murderers row, and just
that's
the
it.
relentlessness.
And how are you going to stand out? You just had to be ruthless, not necessarily at each other, but with the way you were delivering your comedy. And that's what he was saying. But back to the original question. If you had to see one of these three things, which one would it be and why? A UFO, a ghost, or Bigfoot?
I don't really care much for Bigfoot.
Okay.
Although I will say I am reading the book I'm currently reading is the new book by Max Brooks, who did World War Z.
Yes.
Which it's a devolution or
okay.
It's basically it involves basically the premise is it's like Mount Rainier has a volcanic eruption, and there's just like this kind of newfangled community, and basically due to the eruption, like they get attacked by big pack of big feet, if that's the correct pluralization.
Right.
It's pretty good.
Interesting.
Good. Not a triumph like World War Z, which is still one of like maybe the most rereadable book.
Have you read World War Z then?
Like 3 times.
Really?
4 times.
See, that's on my list. See, I've got several others, including the ones you've given me to read. So
if you've seen the movie, you've not like there's 2% of other than like zombies. the movie's nothing like the book.
That's what I've heard. Because again, even then, I mean, people even early on, and again, not to bring up the Rona, but I mean, even early on, they were actually touting how visionary the
Oh,
book was.
oh yeah, like the book was like 2004 or something,
Right.
and but yeah, I did a reread, my most recent reread of it, maybe 2 3 months ago, and it was like reading about today. Because and Max is so smart, and like it's weird, like he like gives lectures at like West Point and such, because he's like just like how like prescient it was, but also just like gives it like how interconnected all these,
Right.
these dozens of different stories and point of view people that are talking within the frame of and the narrative of the book, and just like how everything across the globe is so interconnected. It's just I don't want to spoil it, but it's like it's a shame they did a movie. They should have done like a 10-part HBO miniseries. That would have done it justice.
I think that's still a chance. I think there's a lot of. I think there's a chance for a lot of those movies that didn't get a lot of justice to be able to, like, for Netflix or Amazon or one of those streaming, to be able to pick up the property. It's like, all right, we're gonna do this for 10 episodes, and I would have
Yeah.
been riveted like a crazy man, because I think the only one that did it, and even then, when ABC did The Stand, yeah, it was a 4 part, but that was what, almost 8 9 hours of film. That was
Yeah.
still, it was okay. I mean, they were close to it, but I think that was the other thing. So, and also he inherited good genes because he's Mel Brooks's son.
Yeah. And plus, like the structure of the book is like every chapter is like a different, like, because like there's like the structure of the book is like he himself is interviewing people like after the zombie war, after World War Z.
Interesting.
And so each one, and so he might be talking to a Canadian Special Forces soldier, a Chinese doctor, housewife from the Midwest,
Wow.
government official, all these different things. So you get, a general from India or whatever. And so that's why I thought like an episodic nature would lend
Right.
itself really well, rather than having Brad Pitt run around in just a generic okay zombie movie.
Right. And I think that's interesting. I
Real
think
shame.
that, yeah, and it was because they had to shoehorn a lot of stuff in there into a 2 hour, into a 2 hour 2 hour and change, right? That really you couldn't get through. And that's the other thing too. I know there was a World War Z comic, so I don't know how close it was to the book. So I'll read the book before I read the graphic novel, because I'm on a really big.
Let's say it's probably not the best book I've ever read, but it is probably the most rereadable. Like it's excellent, and just like
I
so.
love those kinds of books because if you can reread it, I mean, it's just you never tire of it. Because there was one. Mine is my favorite book to reread is The Stars My Destiny. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I have not.
So what it is, it's The Count of Monte Cristo in space. It's so good. So anyway, that's the one that I reread a lot. So what do you think? So now we're down to, so now Bigfoot's not so much. So ghost or alien or
I would
UFO, I should say.
UFO would be cool, you know, but I'll say ghost, just because then I would have proof of an afterlife.
See, you're the first ghost answer, and I absolutely love that, because it is the proof of the whole conversation of afterlife. I think that's absolutely
Give me
brilliant.
some proof. That'd be great. Because like obviously there's alien, like there's other life in the universe.
100%.
So we know that they're out there. It's just, it'd be cool to see, and like, well, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. It depends. Maybe
Do
they're
they
not so
I
nice.
do they ID for us, or do they ET us? Which one is
Yeah, yeah, and
it?
maybe it's Star Trek First Contact thing. You come down and they're all nice
Oh,
and
they're all friendly.
yay.
And we're all drunk like what's his name? Dr. Cochran.
Yeah, that's probably about time for a rewatch of First Contact.
First Contact, man. Shout out
That's
to
so
that
good.
one. That was so good. The first one, what was the first one before? Generations,
Generations.
which was a bummer.
It's weird. Like the Star Trek movies have the every other thing. Like the even number ones are great.
Yes.
Because like motion picture was unwatchable. Wrath of Khan, a
The
masterpiece.
standard. Absolutely.
Oh, Search of Spock was pretty good.
It was all right.
Disappointing.
Yeah, it was.
Then four was great.
It's
Final Frontier was what the hell? That's what happens when you let Shatner direct.
he directed the way he acts. It's with lots of passion. And then 6, Undiscovered Country, another,
Great.
again, gold standard. 7, Generations. 8, which was First Contact 9, which was Nemesis.
No, it was Insurrection.
I
It was
guess.
yeah, it was basically like an elongated episode. I don't know why that was a weird choice.
Yeah, exactly. How is Picard though? You told me it was good.
Oh, it's no. I
You
final
changed your mind?
verdict, having watched it, it was not. I did not like it.
No, interesting. How
It
about
was cool to see everybody getting back, but it was just they made uh, uh, like if you're a
was it
completionist.
was it very J.J. Abrams Star Wars esque where they're just trying to do like kind of fan hand job type of
No, I
satisfaction
would have
thing?
liked that.
Uh,
Yeah, no, it was just a lot of choices and a lot of. I mean, it was cool on some things like to get to see Picard, right? See Riker and Troy, and Riker has a cool moment near the end.
Chubby Data,
Hugh,
Chubby Data,
yeah, Beast Thing Data.
but Q made it in.
No, Q didn't, but Hugh. If you
Hugh,
don't remember
thank you. Yes,
Hugh
I know Hugh.
from Iborg.
Yep, Hugh was good.
Yeah. But then there were a lot of other choices, and it was just I kind of I don't know. It was
Like, which character can we throw in and make an appearance?
well almost 7 and 9 had some good
I
moments.
saw
But
that.
it was just overall, it felt very Discovery season 1.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. How about Lower Decks? That one I'm interested in.
you know what? I've been keeping up with that, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Good. Okay.
Like basically, like if you but like you need to be familiar with all the series up,
Oh,
including
really?
Enterprise,
Okay.
because there's a, like it is like just kind of almost like a rapid fire of just like riffing on Star Trek tropes. It's like doesn't take itself too seriously.
See, that's cool though. Okay.
It's thoroughly enjoyable. So I mean, you'll get like Captain Jellicoe reference, lobbed in, or a Trip Tucker or something, just and then like they'll make fun of the kind of the recurring tropes of that are the kind of part. It's enjoyable. It is good.
That's what I'm excited for. So see, that's the next thing that I want to see happen with Star Wars. I want to see some funny stuff where they make fun of themselves. Although Mando 2 I
I
mean,
mean, and then you see who they're bringing on. Like they're bringing on like Timothy Oliphant and Katie Sackhoff and they're bringing in Ahsoka. Oh wait, you haven't watched Clone Wars?
no, I haven't, but I'm familiar with. But have you heard this? Have you heard this? Did you hear the rumor? The actor quit midway through the series.
The actor who what?
The actor who's the Mando, what's his name?
Pedro Pascal?
Pedro Pascal that's the latest weirdest rumor
What?
that he quit midway through the series.
Like through season 1
Through season 2.
or through season? Did he?
Again, there's a rumor out
This is
there.
from one of those like those weird like sci-fi comic accounts that are unsourced and
It's again, I see it again. Padawan One told me about it, and I looked it up, and I didn't retweet it because I'm like, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait
I
because
feel like I would have seen more stuff or something in my
see,
timeline.
if he did, I think it would have been a bigger stink because. And the
It
other
is
thing
like
is you don't badmouth Star Wars midstream. You finish your 3 movies and then you turn into John Boyega and burn it to the ground. Then you go ahead and go off and just like
I like John Boyega.
I love him living his truth. I think it's brilliant.
It's like with him, like he's not wrong.
He's not, and I'm glad he's doing it, and he's running around and just like, no, this is that, and I'm like, you're keeping it honest. Like I told Nam, it's like just because I'm a zealot doesn't mean I take bad mouthing as you're a heathen. I can take bad mouthing of the whole holy Star Wars type of thing. But Ghosts, you know what it is? I absolutely love that question. You were my first, and I'm wavering between aliens and Ghosts because I believe that aliens are real. I don't know what form they are, whatever they do. Are they here or not? I don't know. I just know that the ghosts in a way scares me but intrigues me. So that's the whole thing as well. So
Yeah.
but that's what I like as well.
See that would prove a big thing, and then like yeah. Whereas yeah, aliens. we know you're out there. Just show your face.
And that would be the
Nicely.
whole thing too. So then again, shout out to Justin Prestigard, distance away. I don't even know what it is. I'm not exactly sure who's farther east. Um, Paul or Justin, but anyway, shout out to the East Coasters that are watching us at almost midnight. So thank you for being with us. Which one? I would figure aliens would shake up the whole religious foundation then versus ghosts. It's almost as if ghosts would almost kind of reinforce it.
I don't some of that religious stuff you wondered like they're just like or 6,000 however how many thousand years
However
old.
many years it is.
However many like if the science already hasn't disproven some of the stuff with I don't know, maybe.
Right.
But
Exactly.
that'd be cool to see some ghosts and be cool to see some Romulans. I don't
Have
know.
you ever seen a UFO or a ghost or something
No,
you can't explain?
I would be open to. I would love to. That'd be cool.
I mean, you were living in Phoenix in '97 with the Phoenix Lights. I was driving. I
Yeah, I
was
didn't see
driving.
it though.
You didn't see. I was driving from East Campus on the 60, so I should have seen it. And just based on my angle, I never saw it.
Yeah, it seems like even the governments. I'm wondering like if Trump's gonna like do that like as a kind of like a last ditch. He's like already like open up the vaults, give out the secrets. Just feed them whatever. Like because like
So and so shot JFK one day, and then
yeah, and
Fort
like
Roswell was real the next. I'm
yeah,
surprised that hasn't been pulled out yet.
yeah, just national secrets is like as a campaign strategy.
Well, if he loses, then he's going to just start spewing all kinds of nonsense. All the way up, just there's this and here's that, here's a file, it's all public and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, because the Navy put out those like the footage from the fighters that are just saw the things on
Right.
zipping around doing stuff that based on the physics that we know should not be possible.
That was not possible, and yet they were calling it. So another one, and this one came. I'm going to ask you this one later, but this first one, what's your greatest extravagance? I just can't believe I've never asked this to you. I mean, I've been blessed enough to
like ever,
yes.
or
yes. What is your greatest extravagance?
like current?
Both. I want to hear both.
Probably current is home field shirts, home field apparel.
Paige has been tweeting about them a lot. Do you like them?
Yeah, it's the best.
Because
I don't know if you should be following them. Yeah, they make college shirts. So I mean, I got like I shudder to think how many dozen of shirts. They don't have a license for ASU.
Right. They only have a handful
tons of other
them.
stuff. So I got like but it's top notch stuff.
Good quality, feel good.
Oh,
good
super soft,
awesome.
Great stuff. Hoodies and all this stuff. Yeah, so I don't know how many different schools I have in my closet right now. So that's probably the current. Just I buy a lot of those shirts. Ever. Okay, so goalie equipment is typically not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But once I spent $1,000 on leg pads.
Okay.
And they were NHL quality leg pads, and that was
at the time.
I was early, it was my late teens, early 20s or something.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've never been good enough to warrant NHL quality leg pads. I mean, the beer leagues and rec leagues that I've always played in, but like, I had no business wearing those, but they were super awesome, and I don't know, it's probably
that's cool. Okay. Because there's a little hopefully it's still there. I don't know if it was, but there's a hockey equipment store next to this Persian grocery store near our house. And so when we would go there to do lunch, I'd walk by it and there's all kinds of goalie equipment in there. I'm like, well, if they're still open, I'll take you there. Although
yeah, my goalie mask is I got it styled like a Steeler helmet.
You got it painted?
No, it's so it's I bought it and it just came, it's all black. But I kind of but then I went online and bought the actual Steelers helmet decals.
Oh,
so I got the gold stripe and
is it accessible? Is it accessible?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. All right, everyone. So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a 15-minute break to 9:05. Okay, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to go ahead and go get it and refill your drink. I'm going to go ahead and do an announcement, and then we'll be back at 9:15 because we've been talking for almost 2 hours. and we still have to talk about Larry Scott.
Oh boy.
So yeah, so we'll be able to do that. So I'm gonna switch scenes real quick and let you know. So I've switched scenes. So Brad, you can go ahead and step away, redo your drink, bio break, whatever you need, my man. I'll go ahead and transition to you. You'll see me on camera once I come back refilling my drink. But everyone on the stream, Friday, October 2nd at 5:30 is our next virtual Sun Devil Summit. We're gonna actually have a good one there. It's in 2 weeks from tonight. Make sure you mark your calendars to be able to join. I'm actually going to go ahead and go for the throat. I am going to go ahead and get myself a growler of that hella hoppy and a drink a whole growler of, I think it's a double, might be even a triple. I think it's a double IPA. But anyway, we're going to do that. But make sure you mark your calendars. 2 weeks, Friday, October 2nd, we're going to have another, I think that is our 5th or 6th virtual Sun Devil Summit of the year. So make sure you go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and do a 15-minute break. 9:05 is when we're going to return. So go ahead and make sure you do that. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the pre-show graphic. Go ahead and take yourself a bio break. Get yourself another drink. Make sure you are comfortable, and we will go ahead and talk more in 15 minutes. Thanks, everyone. We're back. What's going on, man?
How's it going?
I'm going to ask you another question. I wish I didn't know this. Question is, think about this the next time you see someone sneeze without covering their nose and mouth.
Timely.
This is actually interesting. Of course, timely. The distance that a sneeze can travel: 200 feet, 60 feet, 15 feet, or the length of a football field. One of those is correct.
60.
200. That's why
Masked up.
That's why they are so freaking worried about it.
Are you like me? Like even like just like the slightest sign of the symptoms, like like when it was like all your smoke from all your wildfires blew over here, and so like
You're
for
welcome.
yeah, like last week, like I had a scratchy throat because of the smoke and like was a little congested, and but like immediately it's like just like the most benign minor thing, but like in the same point, like your mind's like, oh god, like
Is it?
yeah,
I used to. There was a time. So I've told the story about when I thought I was having a heart attack. That's when we came and visited you guys for that one Thanksgiving. And so, yes, around that time, I was really in a mentally bad spot where if there was something that just whatever it was triggering, right? Whatever. It's like, oh, I got a pain on my left side, on my right side, it's my gallbladder. On my pain, on my left side, it's pancreatic cancer. Oh, I'm not, I didn't go to the bathroom today. I got colon cancer. I mean, I was that bad. But now, especially given, how we have to think about with COVID-19 and especially the fires, right? Mrs. Jedi ASU and I got in a back and forth about this one because there was one day where I'm like, my throat's scratchy, right? It's like, but I knew it was because of the fires. And then she gave me some shit about it, and then 3 days later, my throat's scratchy. I told you, I told you, it's gonna happen. So my thing is that it's like if I think my attitude now is about, especially with the Rona, if I don't lose my sense of taste, I'm not gonna worry about it too much, right? Because that's really the severe cases when you have the whole stack, right? Because like the fever and the cough and the other stuff, you can kind of fight it. But if it's like when it's like, okay, if you're beginning to lose your sense of taste, that's when you're like,
here's an
okay.
embarrassing story
Oh,
from
please.
a couple months ago. Like was kind of feeling a little lethargic and like not feeling great, and then all
Right.
of a sudden I was like, I feel like was drinking something, like maybe it's a beer or something, and it was like didn't taste anything. So what I did, I ran over to the fridge and was like looking for anything quick that had like a very sharp
Yeah,
taste.
of course.
Saw the bottle of soy sauce.
Okay.
Quick little nip of soy sauce. Okay, we're good. That was like just beer wasn't that good. Beer was kind of like
It was like it's so
flavored
flat.
like flat and all this, but I was like, all right, I still got the taste.
So at least you got that because the Padawans showed me this TikTok of this dude. He's eating an onion, and nothing. He's just eating the onion like an apple. He's like, because he had the Rona, and he was like, okay, I've got no taste, and he's just chewing into this onion as
I
if
gotta
it's
figure though,
nothing.
like you gotta use that as an upside. Like if you do that, if you lose your taste for a while, like your eating habits have got to improve, right? Because then you just because plus you have to waste time preparing food. You just eat like all the like just shovel up kale or something or whatever.
So then, what is your least favorite food that you could eat if you had the Rona and you lost all your taste?
Oh, my least favorite food would. It's great that Ralph takes the heat off of me because I probably hate pineapple more than he does.
Do you?
I
Is it?
hate it.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I loathe pineapple,
Interesting.
and I'm an adventurous eater. But
Okay.
God, no, pineapple's just the worst. Absolutely the
It
worst.
was always been now. Is it like because you got harassed by some people and and Ralph was bullied by people with pineapple, or was yours different?
Is that really his thing?
That was the
The origin
thing.
story?
That was the thing. He had shared that with me. I think he tweeted it out actually. What happened was is that some people made him eat pineapple and that's what turned him off to it for the rest of his life. He was yeah, so I'm like, okay.
I just don't like it.
Okay.
Not big on coconut either. So just maybe it's I don't know. But
Interesting.
pineapple definitely is like loathsome.
Interesting. Okay, so now we
Yeah.
got something to give you shit for. Okay. um, two things. If you had to, you're a peasant in medieval Europe, or give birth to an evil alien. That's actually interesting, given what we were just talking about.
Yeah, that reminds me of that episode of Enterprise where Trip gets impregnated.
Which series was that?
Enterprise.
Was it Enterprise?
Criminally underrated Enterprise.
It was. I never gave it a shot. I watched it the first few episodes and it just lost me.
Give it a shot. It's better than Voyager. It's better than the original series.
It's not TNG though.
No, but
It's
it is
good
like,
under
on
its own
right. It is good.
Okay.
Especially, I mean, just like it seems like every we're going back on Star Trek again. Every like it seems like season one of like TNG season one was bad. Season one of Deep Space Nine not great.
Yeah.
Season one of Voyager very inconsistent, but season one of Enterprise I think was probably the best debut of them all. But then then 2 and 3 and 4 they only ran 4 seasons, but like 3 especially is probably the darkest run of Star Trek. Like in a good way. Like it's dark.
I kind of like that then. I love it when it goes dark because like I'm watching The Boys on Amazon. That's dark.
So that's like as soon as we're done here, like my wife's taking a nap, and so we're gonna start that because I'm caught up because
caught up to where
the one that dropped today.
Okay, so I just watched it earlier, so go ahead.
Oh my god, when she does the
so how about this? So read the comic because it's worse.
I've heard that. I've seen stuff that like what was what's the guy's name? Like Gareth something. He did Preacher. Gareth Edwards or something.
Okay, go ahead. The writer. Yeah.
And it seemed like the consensus was like all the awful excesses that he let himself do in the graphic novel, like the showrunners,
right,
like wisely like went different directions or took it in different made different choices that have enhanced the story. I haven't read the source material.
I bought it. I bought the first book, and there's a lot of stories in there that you can kind of see that hint at what's going on in the show, but the book is freaking the graphic novel is brilliant. It's a brilliant read, beautifully drawn, great concept and everything else. And you can see how the casting of the woman, that's all they call her. She's a silent girl from Japan. The casting is spot on. And actually it's funny, you read the comic, it's actually they drew it as Simon Pegg because they saw him in his early show, whatever that was, whatever that space show he did on BBC. They liked him so much that they started drawing the comic so Huey actually looks like Simon Pegg. But then
him as his dad.
But then what happened was, as soon as they went to publication, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, all of that shit hit. So they're like, oh crap. But he embraced it. But anyway, but like you said, to your point, Enterprise season 3 being that dark. I love dark series, and that's why I like The Boys. So it's not not for everyone though, because if you
guys were in our DM thread, like you guys were all talking it up, and I'm like, so finally gave it a choice or gave it a chance a couple weeks or 2 weeks ago or whatever, and Anthony Starr needs some Emmy consideration. He is terrifying as Homelander.
He is so good because even then, I've read there's 6 volumes of The Boys. I mean, it's just there's so many episodes, but Homelander only comes out in probably of 300 pages. You only see Homelander in probably 10. You don't see him a lot in the first book. You know of him. You even see Starlight. Starlight doesn't even make a lot of appearances in the first book, but you're aware of them. So anyway, yeah, he's intense. However, talk to me after this episode. Talk to me after the episode you see tonight.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
caught up. Everything that is available. Like I waited up till after I had a late hockey game last night, so I waited like after midnight. Like boom.
So this next episode kind of, you know, helps me waver, but Stormfront is the shit. So we shall see.
Oh,
Gosh, she's so good. I mean, it's just we were talking about. They were even talking about on Reddit how she looks
she's
at it. How she looks at A Train is just. I love how she acts. How she acts. She's just a brilliant actor. I just
in the book.
actress.
She's like it's a man. Like Stormfront's a dude in the book, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Stormfront, and Stormfront comes out in the first book, in the first volume, once. It's just once.
Ah.
So there's, like you said, you have to read them all to get a bigger idea of what Stormfront really is relative to everything else. But it's a brilliant twist of um, girls get it done. I mean, it's such a
And
brilliant.
since it's like it was in production so recently, you see like especially in the most recent episode, like kind of the like not subtle like MCU rip McGuffin, like it is like it is
It's
so good. I don't
It's
know
so
on a
good.
level.
I mean, for all of you that are out there, it just if you're not a Marvel fan, if you want to be able to watch a series that takes a shit on everything that's Marvel and DC, The
And
Boys.
American society and culture and
Oh
everything.
God. And even then they take it even harder in the comics, but it's
The
brilliant.
superhero stuff in the boys is like the superhero like powers and all that's all like incidental. It's
It is.
like tertiary.
Yeah, it is. It
Like
really is. It's just okay, it's really just color. It's really about how awful of a human a lot of them are.
and how like the public is just like enables that and just like oh I,
Except
I
that
I killed that bystander, but I'm down 9 points in
except
my
that
popularity.
that protest scene was so brilliant, and when it went down I was just laughing the entire time, and then I'm like, damn it.
I was like, oh my, yeah, like, oh,
I was laughing the entire time, and I was like, anyway, I know we're sidetracking from everyone
yeah.
else.
I mean, and you put Carl Urban in anything, it's going to be good.
I love him. He is such a dynamic actor. I don't know if he is I don't know if he's oh God, what's his name? What's Gladiator's name? Russell Crowe, but he's definitely dynamic.
Guess what? Yeah, Russell Crowe's Australian and Carl Urban's New Zealand
I think
or from
so.
New Zealand.
It's a crazy how those I just whenever you talk about Russell Crowe, and I love the line that it was it Chris Rock said, if you need him to sound like in the future, he can sound like in the future. If you need him to sound like 3 weeks ago, he can sound like 3 weeks ago.
I think Russell Crowe's criminally underlooked or
Yes,
overlooked these days.
he is, and I think he just
Master
needs.
and Commander is still one of the greatest movies.
Dude, again for everyone in the chat, I was just I wish that turned into just like if that turned into a whole series like James
It
Bond,
was
where there
supposed
was
to,
nine of
right?
them. I wish
Because
they had. I wish they had.
there's like 20 books or something, right?
There's a ton of them,
Have you read
and
any?
no, it's on my list.
So I started the first one
Okay.
and I stopped. Just
Okay.
not be like just be like
Is it because of the
because
expectation
it
of the
almost
movie, or
what's up?
was it because of the expectation of the movie, or was just the book like, nah?
It it almost like required a knowledge of sailing. It
Okay.
was like and most of it's one of those books that is it's mostly told in like through dialogue. And so it's just like
Interesting.
if you don't know if you're not like because and like apparently the dude it's like one of the most have like he put in his time to make sure that his writing was historically period accurate and all that
Okay.
stuff. So if you don't know and I born and raised in Arizona, so I don't know anything about sailing. So all and it's all dialogue. There's no like
That's a shame.
and so I got through like 90 pages like man this is just I
It was too much.
yeah, but I mean the movie is great and
The
the books
movie
are
is
acclaimed, but
That's one
so
of my
I mean
favorite all-time movies. That talk about criminally underappreciated. Master and
yeah,
Commander, Far Side of the World.
so
Someone put they put it, Star Trek on the ocean, which it technically is, right? It's Star Trek on the ocean.
yeah,
It really
okay.
that someone said it's because I mean you have, the doctor who's his friend, right? Who's very, you know, and I can't remember his name, but he's very, anti-war, but he's very open to speaking his mind. which is very Spock,
There's
right?
kind of a Wrath of Khan vibe to it. I mean, you're chasing after that
It is, right?
nemesis and
And
across the.
you don't see the nemesis. You know, it's just some evil Napoleonic captain of another boat, right? That's so much more badass than you.
Get crippled in the beginning. You got to kind of patchwork yourself
And you disappear into the fog, which is your Mutara Nebula and all this other stuff. So
good pull.
For those, it's just I had to nerd hard. But anyway,
when we go on these Star Trek tangents, is like the numbers just plummet of my viewers, or
nah, hell no. People are either tuning us out or they're appreciating it. Thank God. Here's an answer that's not
fire away in the comments, people. Let's talk.
Here's an answer. Here's a question. I wish I didn't know, and the answer isn't A. Thank God. Match.com survey revealed that a guy who does this will triple his chances of scoring on a date. A, talks highly about his mom. B, talks about her pets. C, opens the car door. Or D, chats up an Uber driver. Other than A, which of those 4 answers reveals that a guy who does this will triple his chances of scoring on a date, according to Match.com?
So other than A, so it's not.
It's not A.
Talking about the mom.
Yeah, talking about his mom. Because that creeps everyone
out. And those the other ones are talking about her pets.
Asks about her pets. Correct. C, opens the car door. Or D, chats up an Uber driver.
Open the door.
Uber driver.
What?
Chatting up the Uber driver. Again, I didn't make the survey, but anyway.
I don't like talking to the drivers.
Really? See, that's what. See, because I mean, I can't help myself, unless it's like 4 a.m. and I'm like, just leave me alone. I just want to close my eyes until I get to the airport.
Almost all my like rideshare stuff is always like when I'm flying in to cover games. So I'm like landing in Berkeley at 11:30 p.m. and something, and it's like, get me the hotel.
Just
like,
get me to the hotel. Exactly. I feel you.
I don't know, but I'm not necessarily the biggest chit chat with strangers type by default. So
that's actually one of the that's actually kind of what drives the Padawans up the wall. It's like, why do you got to talk to so many people? Because I like it.
It's best to travel with Paige because she's the opposite of that.
She does it.
She can talk. I just scroll Twitter.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. All right. So the ineptitude of Larry Scott. 2 hours and 15 minutes later, after we kicked off the show, we get to talk about how inept our fearless or fearful or just idiot leader is. Is our performance as teams hurting our perception as a conference, or is the ineptitude of Larry Scott hurting our perception as a conference?
I don't think you can separate the two. I mean, it's full cocktail of just, nationally irrelevant play. I mean, just because, and then that goes into like the whole 9 versus 8 game schedule. So I mean, basically you have the cannibalistic nature of Pac-12 football where like,
right.
Which I think is, is unfair. Because I think the like you have teams that can go toe to toe, make be playoff quality.
Mm-hmm.
If you make it through the Pac-12, I think you're a pretty darn good football team. But just, I mean, in doing so, you might have 2 losses, 3 losses on your resume, just because there's also I mean, top to bottom, I mean, Pac-12 is better than like the ACC.
Yes. Well, it's actually Clemson and the ACC.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I think it's better than the Big 12. So I think
it's Oklahoma and the Big 12. Yes, everyone likes to talk.
Yeah,
about.
You have Oklahoma. Even Texas isn't Texas.
Yes, Texas is not back.
Yeah, and so I mean, I don't know. I think you have a lot of quality. You maybe don't have the top level, but I think top to bottom. I mean, even last year you look and you see like Oregon State getting better. They're
that's crazy too. Yeah, Oregon State did a really good thing.
The way Utah has come from a the Group of 5 level to being a legitimate perennial year in year out power in the conference.
Is it bad that I don't want to recognize that?
So, and that was one of the things I had an interview lined up with Kyle Whittingham before everything kind of went to hell, and that was one of the questions I was absolutely going to ask is like, do you consider ASU and Utah a rivalry? Because it is, in my opinion. I'll defend that to the death.
That it is.
I think you have like the quality of play just because you have teams that might be able to make or of playoff caliber,
Mhm.
um, but because they play in a 9 game conference schedule,
Yeah.
and you see some of the teams, like the USC's and Oregon's, the more maybe bankable national teams that they're not afraid to schedule some big time
Right.
non-conference games like the
Or
Ohio States or
or travel
Alabama's.
or travel out of their state.
Yeah. And so you're starting to see maybe some teams taking more of a little more adventurous nationwide, and hopefully
Right.
when we get the inevitable 8 team playoff, they'll
Mhm.
be all set up well for that. Have the automatic bid.
Right.
Then it's just a matter of can the Pac-12 get a second team and at large. But and then of course the bungling of the myriad of mistakes of Larry Scott of just you I think
Yeah.
like if you have good teams
Mhm.
that even if they do have 2 losses, that's great. But nobody knows about them because your games are kicking off at 10:30 Eastern and on a network nobody has.
Which is
So
even worse. And that was the next question. When Oregon lost to ASU, if they had won, who were they? Were they the fourth spot in the playoff, or were they the third spot in the playoff? Because I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to figure out who they would play in the playoff if they beat ASU.
I don't remember offhand. I remember they were. I don't know if they were.
Or were they
Were
first
they?
one
Were they were?
out?
I think they were like in the. They were just outside, but I
They
mean they
were
were
sixth then.
like if they were to run the table and then go on and win the beat the South beat Utah, and I think things were
I
lined up
think they
pretty well.
I think they would have been in the playoff. I just don't know if they were 3 or 4. Again, had they not lost to ASU, would they have been 3 or 4? I guess that's the only thing.
Or I guess outside chance if Utah hadn't lost in the title game to Oregon, it seemed like they were also positioned at that point to. So it's just like you have that
Yeah.
nature that just week in week out the conference is so competitive that you're going to have, instead of just as you mentioned, Clemson being able to walk through the ACC because like Virginia Tech's not taking them down, Miami's certainly not taking them down. I mean, you got these middling teams, but then you have the Pac-12. You think you have middling teams as well. You mean Colorado's and your Arizonas, but you have good
Yeah.
quality teams that, as you see, like an ASU can. It's not a shot. I mean, they go out and they beat an Oregon, they beat a Michigan State, they beat
Mhm.
ranked teams, and then you have other USC's and Stanford's and
Right.
Washingtons, and you have quality teams that on any given week can take down the conference prima donna.
Absolutely. And that was interesting too because I'm still trying to figure out ASU played better than Oregon. But what was it that was just Oregon not mentally there for ASU, or what do you think it was that led to the ASU victory, that ASU wanted it more? What was it?
Well, I think I don't know if it maybe want more or maybe you could say that I don't know. Like I don't follow the Ducks on a week out basis like I do ASU. So I don't know if maybe
Right.
there was something different, or maybe they were thinking that it was just one of those things they could just come in and just another
Just
stop
roll.
on their run to a playoff spot. But ASU always has whenever they're at home, they're always. I mean, we've seen it constantly over the last few years of just
Right.
once they're at home, you can't ever count them out. Whether it's
Absolutely.
a Notre Dame, whether it's a Michigan State, whether it's an Oregon, a couple times, just times that they are able to just in the confines and between those buttes, there's a little something there. And then of course by that time you had the Jaden Daniels, Brandon Ayuk
Mhm.
connection, really had been established and was really getting going. So I just and then quite frankly, Justin Herbert, I've never been as high as others on him, and you
Right.
saw that his struggles early on, and turned it on a little bit late. Maybe I think ASU maybe defensively took their foot off the gas a little bit once they had that big lead, and was it?
Because they caught up. They
Yeah,
did.
they
We
was
only
that
won
three
by
touchdowns.
3. Yeah. I mean, and then all of a sudden they scored twice in a blink, and I'm like, what in the hell just happened?
Yeah,
Right? It's prevent defense all over again. It's like, what the hell?
only prevents you from winning.
Exactly, exactly. But it's just, I wish there was some sort of analytics in which we could go ahead and put that all together, but it just doesn't seem. Perception is reality, and everyone's always going to badmouth us no matter what. And I just, I just wish, and again, now I'm just looking at, you know what, how much of it, maybe we're not thinking, how do I say this? Maybe the Pac 12, maybe Larry Scott is incapable of thinking bigger. Because the only thing that I was thinking of is like, you know what? Damn everything to the wind and say, you know what, Mountain West, let's build and establish the first super conference. Let's go ahead and show how it's done. Do you think that you think it's too soon for that, or do you think it's just like not right timing, or would it be something that would be good for us to be able to do?
Um, int- Interesting. I don't know that the Mountain West is where you would look if you wanted to build like like a super conference. I mean, there's maybe like are you talking like in terms of just like full on those two conferences merge into one big entity? Because I don't know that the adding you know m- that conference into the fold is going to give bolster you a whole lot. I mean, you get what Boise State. And then I
San
mean you
Diego
get your
State, you get Utah State, you get BYU. If you want to push for that, you get Hawaii.
yeah. I mean they're
And then if
independent,
you,
and then you got Hawaii. I don't know, like, but I
but
think
let's
if you
say
want,
to your point too, is like you were saying earlier, what about some of the D2 stuff like Eastern Washington, right? Some of those other ones that you're pulling in as well. Sac State was kind of a worry when we played them, right? Portland State's always kind of interesting. I'm just trying to figure out not necessarily prestige from a school perspective, but more proving that hey, this is how a super conference can work.
I think if you do that, then you got to look to maybe poach some Big 12, like kind of the
Mm.
whole like 20 what was it 2010 2011 when hey, let's bring in like the Oklahomas, Texas, and stuff, and try to build a 16
Okay.
team conference that way of building if you because I don't know that building adding like Boise State, Air Force, San Diego State and Hawaii or
Okay.
something.
So you're saying
It's gonna
not
you got to
don't
get some clout.
yeah, don't add bodies for the sake of adding bodies. You're
Yeah,
actually trying to add some weight to it. Okay.
like it's like you look at the mistake that at the Big Ten, like, oh, we got to get the New York City market, and then you got by adding Rutgers.
They
What is
added it.
adding a national punchline really doing for you?
That's really it. I mean, that's the attention you're getting. It's like you have Butgers now.
Yeah, and so I mean, as you said, you want to if the goal here is to raise the profile, you're not doing like, does anybody care that San Diego State is now in the Pac-12 South? I
Right.
mean, that's not helping those voters. I mean, no one's going to stay up to 1 a.m. Eastern to watch USC San Diego State,
They're
and
barely doing it now, and it's limited play.
yeah, and they're playing Power Five. So I don't know. It's just I think if you do that, then yeah, you maybe try to
Right.
create some sort of west of the Mississippi Super Conference or something like that.
So
Some
okay, so then let me ask you this then. So since I'm facing east, west, the ocean is behind me, I'm facing east. That's why I'm pointing this way. So then what about the argument that ASU, the other school, Utah and Colorado should head to a conference that's east of them?
I've never really thought that like that's a great idea
Thank you.
because then you're taking ASU out of its kind of traditional footprint, and obviously the ASU's best teams are always built out of California, and Todd Graham tried to swing the thing back to let's build through Texas, and we saw how that once that really kind of had a couple of years of going into it, how the decline of his program in the tenure. So I think that's not a situation where I think it's an awkward fit, and I think
Okay.
ASU right now because I mean from a recruiting basis, from a historical basis. I mean, because now they've been there in the Pac-12 for what 42 years now,
Yeah.
78. So I think they're right where they need to be. I understand that fans are mad at Larry Scott and the Pac-12 and their seemingly ceaseless parade of
Right.
blunders, but if you're don't make a don't overreact and put yourself in a bad spot for the next 10, 20, 30 years just because you're mad at Larry Scott.
It just seems unbelievable to the point where you're just like, okay, that you feel like you're going to be better off in a conference where there's Texas and Oklahoma, right? I mean, it's just you thought you're fighting for attention with Oregon and USC, but you don't have the attention like Texas and Oklahoma, right? I mean, you're not going to peel anything of that away. I mean, as much as you try. And like I said, I think it's brilliant to your point. It just geographically it feels unnatural to go that way, especially if you're
Yeah.
jumping a whole state, meaning not even
Yeah.
looking at New Mexico. You're like, oh, New Mexico's there. Oops, I forgot.
Yeah. A 6 hour drive to the LA area or however long it is to.
How long did that take you to get home from the Sun Bowl, by the way?
Oh, Sun Bowl. I don't know. What was that like
We were talking about that. We were talking on the road. You were driving back and we were talking.
Yeah, it was like it's under 7 hours, like six and a half. But that's El Paso, so and that's much closer. So like Austin, I don't know.
The next Sun Bowl we do, if we're blessed to be able to go back to the Sun Bowl, I'm going to do that. I'm going to fly in the night before. We're going to hang out in El Paso and do as much as we possibly can, whatever's there, and then I'll drive back to you, and then you can drop me off at my parents' house. So this way we can actually go through that whole thing. So
Oh man, on all the Sun Bowl trips I've done, it's in and out. Never really.
that's why I'm into it, right? Because if I can fly in, go ahead, get some food, get some good food, enjoy the game, and get the hell out without you, I'm happy because I don't want to actually kind of, wait for the.
That was on New Year's, and I was like, I
What?
had a New Year's Eve flight. I had a flight booked, and like the flights from El Paso to Phoenix were like $60 on Southwest or whatever. But
But you drove instead.
I decided to drive and rather than fly because the the flight time being New Year's Eve, like I would have had to I wouldn't have had a chance to do any kind of post game stuff.
Oh, got it. So you would have had to have left.
No interviews or press conference or write a story or any
Interesting. And
kind of
almost, if you think about it, it's almost as if you only you only saved an hour if you flew anyway.
I suppose.
Yeah, an hour or even two, right? Because security and waiting and flight time and all this other brouhaha.
PSA pre-check. That's where it's at. Worth every dollar.
See, as much as I flew, I didn't do pre-check, but I got status, so that's why I was able. That's how I was able to do it. But then again, I traveled in the dark ages before pre-check was even a thought. But
Pre-check.
yes,
Way to go.
exactly. So, yeah, that's always been. It just seems like it's a if we had someone that was hyper innovative, right? Like a Ray Anderson, would he have made the move? Just like, all right, we're going to make a big super conference, right? It's like everyone else be damned. You guys do your thing. We're going to actually show you what the future is. And then being able to do that.
Yeah, I think that the biggest, most probably lasting impact of this pandemic on the sport is, I mean, you've heard so long about the rumors of just like the P5 just peeling away. You've seen over the last several months the point that the NCAA is pretty useless and unnecessary from administrative standpoint. I mean, there's not really nothing tying these schools to the NCAA. It's just kind of one of those things where if they were to just break away and build their own thing, um, there's really nothing stopping them. So I think
Right.
that one of the big, I mean, you might this pandemic might be the beginning of some seismic foundational changes within the sport. Maybe whether it's finally have a college football commissioner central body because that's been such a terrible issue because you have all these different
Right.
conferences, these little warring kingdoms, with these different on different pages and different agendas and everything instead of having one central governing body kind of helping to unify things and get everybody on the same page. I think
No
you're
top down centralized, leadership. Who would have thought?
yeah, instead of leaving like, oh, let the interests of the South versus the West Coast and
Right.
yeah, so I think you're gonna start to you see that'll probably be the most lasting
Okay.
change. Whether it's I don't know, maybe say conference realignment might be putting it too mild. So maybe you do have like the ultimate P5 G5 break, and maybe it's so you have kind of like how you have a division,
Mm,
technically a division 1 that's in two different levels with the FBS
right.
FCS. Maybe you have a different thing there. Maybe you have schools just of different conferences decide to band together
Mm,
and maybe and do their own thing, or maybe you do have some something similar to what you have now, but a centralized governing body
right.
that actually has some teeth, some pull, and some influence, rather than Mark Emmert and the USOS NCAA.
Right. And that's the other thing too, because I think the NCAA, I just it almost feels like excuse me, even with everything that's going on, it just feels like everything is so, how do I say this? It feels like such a lost opportunity in the sense that there were so many things that the conference could have done so innovatively different to blow up the system, but everyone is just fighting to keep the system. And I think that's kind of what upsets me the most, right?
Yeah,
Because
and you're seeing now, like, what a lot of the system doesn't need to exist.
exactly. So why do we have to stick to this old guard, right? It's just go ahead and blow it up. And like you say, yeah, okay, adding Hawaii may not necessarily be it. But if you're looking at it, and again, I only say Bundesliga because I like saying the word. But if you were able to do at a league where you're able to develop an upper and lower division and where you can relegate everything, why wouldn't I think that would actually be an amazing nuance to college football. I don't think people appreciate that nuance about soccer enough, or footy, or whatever the hell we should call it, right? That could be applied and make American football just that much more exciting. And I think that's what I think disappoints me the most is that it could have, if there was someone innovative enough to be able to drag everyone by the hairs and say, look, the West Coast is going to do this and we're going to show you how it's done, and you're going to kick yourselves and you're going to want to be like us. Because again, like my profile says, be so good so they can't ignore you. And I think this was the opportunity, and it's just a matter of, okay, let's just keep status quo instead. And I guess that's maybe why it's frustrating me.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. So you're proposing a Pac-12 Mountain West promotion relegation relationship?
Oh, absolutely, and I would cheer for the you them to be relegated down every damn year. I would like that would be the focus. You know
After
what?
year one, you get are you going to do a Bundesliga style? So like bottom two and top two flip flop, and then the third in each, or the third in the bottom and the third lowest in the top have a relegation playoff as well.
I think that would be fracking brilliant, right? Because again, they would be like you would be. Can you imagine the stress if in going down to the other school and saying we have to win this game or else we're getting relegated? I mean, I'd have a damn heart attack. But people would be so damn invested in it. And I think that's brilliant to be able to be part of that, right? And it's like because again, how much joy would you take if it's like not only do we have the cup, but we relegated your ass, and now you got to stay down there all year and blah. I mean, it would just be, I
So
don't know.
then what? So last year, then you'd send what, Arizona and Stanford, or well, let's see,
Northern State.
depending on how the Wazoo, Stanford, and Colorado were all 3-6 in conference. So
How about that south or north, or is that everyone?
well, those are the those Wazoo, Stanford, and Colorado were 3-6 in conference.
It'd be Arizona and Colorado. And I think Colorado never would have been in the conversation because they've had, yeah, they had 2016, but then they had 2 years bad after that. So
And then you promote, yeah, let's see, you promote what, Boise State and Air Force.
come on. I mean, and then adding Air Force to the schedule. I mean, come on. That's
I don't know, adding a triple option team, that's not something that people want to see.
people hate that, but for me as a fan of the sport as a whole, I'm so into it. I think it would, I mean, I just, that's for me. And again, for me being, I obviously ASU is my number one school. That's who I want to do well. But from a larger, bigger picture, that kind of movement just is so exciting. So much, so different mindset from what everyone else is used to because everyone's like, okay, hope springs eternal. I'm going to play these teams and I think we're going to do this well, right? But if you go ahead and relegate someone and you go ahead and someone else comes in, now you're just like, okay, what in the hell am I supposed to expect with Air Force coming in? Or one of those weird ass seasons where Colorado State has a brilliant season and then they get promoted and they take a shit for the whole year. It's like, well, okay, that's what happens. And I just, you would be
Then
playing
you're
teams.
like, then I was thinking, like, so then, like, if you relegate like Stanford or something, all of a sudden
Oh
they're
God.
and they're on like a Mountain West budget all for a little bit, then like are all of a sudden because their football team got relegated and they're not making the money, does like women and other sports teams get cut as a result because the football team had a bad year?
And that's the other thing too. Are the other teams again subject to? Are the other teams subject to that, or again because Stanford has the Directors Cup? Do they kick the shit out of everyone in D2, and they take the D Cup? They take the Directors Cup again because by default they just have the talent to be able to clean everyone's clock, for lack of a better word, right? So for me, it's exciting because it's such a departure. And again, I love change. I love that kind of change, and I think we could have gotten there, but it
We
would.
might see. Yeah, we'll see. Like after this 2020 season wraps up, what exactly the fallout's going to be, and what kind of long term. But I think you're going to start to see some bigger picture stuff. Probably early next year, maybe some of the first inklings and
The super
start to
conference.
get underway.
I hope so. Like I said, I want to be able to do that relegation. By the way, did you get anyone tag you with the Speak of the Devil's new? Did you get any?
Oh, I don't. Let's check.
I haven't checked because I'm like, if I check Twitter, I think I'll crash my big computer. So
I have not. No, nobody must have heard. Anybody who tweets at bdenny29 that Grayson McCall for Heisman.
what is
Send
it?
sticker.
Hashtag Grayson McCall
Yeah, we can
for
hashtag it.
is
Grayson McCall for
GR.
Heisman.
So I got it. So I'm typing it out. GRAYSON MCCALL or Heisman HEISMAN.
HEISMAN. Yeah.
Tweet at B Denny 29 for Speak of the Devil's podcast. Speak of the SOTD. Speak of the Devil's podcast sticker. Do it. All right, if you're out there. There we go. So that was good. Yeah. Footy equals. Okay, thank you for that, Paul. I wanted to make sure I was actually referring to the right one. Footy equals Australian rules football, which is brilliant unto itself. I don't know if they're playing. Did you see that tweet? There was this one guy that um FaceTimed his family and told him that he made the All Blacks.
I didn't see that.
It was brilliant. I don't know I don't know who the athlete was, but the All Blacks signed him, and and it's just his whole family. Just they almost tore the house down. It was so cool. What a reaction it was to be able to be part of the rugby team, the All Blacks. But I mean,
Nice.
yeah. So I mean, and I don't think enough people appreciate the All Blacks and their history and everything else. So I think I remember there was one time the name All Blacks was trending, and everyone misunderstood what
Oh
it was
no.
for. So anyway, it
Sure, that
was
went over well with Twitter, and there
yeah.
were
I
no
mean,
bad takes at all.
and I don't know what. Hopefully, I think it was before everything else went down, but I think it was just anyway. It was interesting. But so yes, for the conference, like I said, I would love to see a super conference in which they were able to play, adopt one of those things. And I think it's an absolute brilliant and new way to look about it. But you know, is this the season? Is Larry Scott's incompetence on blast to the point where there is no choice for the university presidents to move on?
It's in because I think this pandemic is in a way given to people. It's putting them under greater scrutiny, but also I think at the same time maybe giving them a bit of a pass,
Hmm.
just because some of the things that are just simply beyond anyone's control.
Okay.
But at the same point, there are things in the handling that are within control that you can question the decisions that were made and the actions that were taken. I do think that the Pac-12 has done well and just kind of being on the more prudent side of things and waiting and you know seeing that the testing and technology and the protocols have caught up to
Mm-hmm.
a point where they at this point seem that it will be inevitable that they feel comfortable enough to conduct a fall season.
Right.
But then in a broader sense, with you talk about the picture of the overall health of the conference and the revenue gaps that are growing. And and my sit down with Ray Anderson, and this is a topic that we hit on a lot. And just
Right.
there's concern there, and the media deal in 2024, when it expires, when you're trying to set that up, and you're trying to, those things are negotiated years in advance. And do you want Larry Scott to be the point man for these negotiations, which are going to be,
Right.
starting up here, and not the not too distant future? And I think the right answer is no. I mean, because
Exactly.
all the things that, the laundry list of things that fans always are talking about, just the revenue gap. You talk about the media deal and just the Pac-12 network fiasco. Uh, what was the thing today about,
The
by the end of
rent,
the lease in San Francisco, it'd be $90 million in rent.
they paid $90 million in rent when the company sold the damn building for $90 million.
And it's like all there's the countless financial malfeasance basically of what they've been doing. And it's putting this conference, it has put this conference in a weaker position to
Right.
compete and for national relevancy, and it's hurting the member institutions. So maybe you hope that you have somebody who's has more savvy than just like, hey, let's look at Apple Plus or Apple TV, or no, you got to be a little more you got to get somebody who understands the business aspect. And
Right.
Larry Scott in his tenure has not proven to be that guy.
Do you think so? Agreed, 100%. I think Larry Scott he's not a nincompoop, but for at the level he's sold himself at, he's definitely lagging behind his peers from a capability and vision perspective. But is there anyone else out there? And again, this is because, again, I guess I'm close to it. Is there anyone else out there other than Ray Anderson that can save the conference?
I'm sure there's somebody who like they've got some business savvy, and that'll be one of the things that the leadership group that and I think that's yeah, it's been a point that obviously like Michael Crow's been Larry Scott's kind of biggest defender, is one of the few. It might be the I don't know if he's the only one left or the one of two that are still around from the point of hiring Larry Scott, making that decision.
Only, I
So I think
thought,
Larry's
because
allies are,
the UCLA AD left, didn't he?
yeah, they got a new guy. So
Crow's
his
the only
allies
one.
are a little short at this point. So it's going to be one of the biggest things. I'm obviously navigating this pandemic and this season and this weird next couple months and into next year is going to be, the utmost priority, but also at the same point, figuring out the leadership. And I think you've seen in recent months that the CEOs and the leadership of the conference is demanding more, making their
Right.
voices heard. They have, I think a greater seat at the table, whereas before Larry might have been more, just kind of exerting more power than perhaps, and then getting less pushback. And now I think you're starting to see, and you see that with in terms of like kind of the Merton Hanks coming on, and the
Right.
the overhaul of the officiating side of things. Um, there's a number of different things that are going on. I think at the conference level that are pointing to some, the schools trying to maybe take back power.
Okay.
Might be a way of putting it,
Yep.
but just maybe exerting a greater will, knowing that they know that where they are relative
Right.
to the SEC and the Big Ten. They see those numbers. And it's not a sustainable thing. And then
Yes.
with all this pandemic stuff, and then you just can't afford to fall any further behind. And waiting for 4 years for the media deal and that money, that's an eternity. So I think you need, before even these negotiations for the next media deal get underway, you got to get somebody with a better sense that
Right.
has shown a little more urgency and is not so sunk cost of just this is the way, this is my vision of the Pac-12 network and all the way things are going. And you might need somebody to come in here and blow it up and try to rebuild from the ground up, rather than just try to Larry, who's maybe trying to rearrange the deck chairs in the Titanic.
Well, that's the interesting thing too. I mean, is like, is there really anything to blow up? Because in the sense that there really isn't much in place now as it is, right? We're so far at the bottom, right? That now, or is it, do we have to blow everything up, or do we just have to go ahead and just rebuild it net new? Because we're really not further ahead, right? We're actually kind of in a bad spot, right? So was it, did he blew it up in his own way? And now we're like, okay, we're fracked because it is awful, and whoever comes in here can just do that much better of a job regardless.
I think you just need somebody to come in with a better vision than just like, oh, let's. Because I mean, that was the big thing, like when the Pac-10 went to the Pac-12, and then you had all the the creation of this. Let's own all our content, and like you could have great sports, but if you're not packaging it and it's not
Right.
available, and that's just like that's like from like a day one thing. Like you can't if you can't get people invested in to see your product or have your product available, what good is having a good product? And
Absolutely.
so
I mean,
just like
could
from a basic level, and then it's just year after year of clinging to that same failed model. There's no direct TV deal, and it's 2020. Like, come on, man.
how would Amazon Video succeed if it wasn't free to every single Prime member out there? Like, only if you got to pay an extra, only if you're in a particular region or if you pay extra or this or that. Like, no, I think that's like you said, it's exactly it.
Yeah, I think
It's
it's his baby, and like he's not giving that up. And so I think you need somebody with no attachment. You just come in from a cold, analytical, objective point of view, and be like, these are the measures we need to take, and these are the things we need to stop doing, or
mhm,
and to get back to a path to being, you know, on a competitive level with
right.
the other power conferences.
It's interesting because, like you said, it's his content. It's our content, and we must keep it. And it's almost as if, like you were saying, he's probably my contemporary, but he's thinking of it as like there is no other way anyone else is allowed to see this content because it is mine, and you have to come to me to get it. And that is such an old mindset. That's, I don't want to say it's boomer, but it may be more almost first depression type mentality where it's like it's mine and I got to keep it and I got to keep it close to my chest and I can't let anyone else have it in any way shape or form because the money has to come to me. Whereas I think it's such an old antiquated mindset where they just have to be able to say, all right, I'm going to put it out for anyone, and then we're just going to go ahead and figure out a way to monetize it in some form or another. And I think that's the failing. You have to have someone that's a hell of a lot more visionary than him because he was always talking about technology that's not yet available or this or that or whatever in the hell else he decided to. And so now we're here and it's not. And now you've just made the conference worse.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You need somebody that has a vision, that they're not tied down to
What's up,
a
Winston?
particular.
What's up, Winston?
Yeah, which one second. I think you might need to get in here and use a certain box in the corner. Um,
There we go.
yeah, so yeah, as you mentioned, I think it's all about vision, and you have somebody that's just when the ego is tied to a certain vision, that you know
Exactly.
it's hard to separate that from taking a cold hard look. And some people can say, hey, my idea did not work, this is
Of course.
failing and abandon ship, whereas others might want to go down with the ship. And I think right now, in year what 9.
Gosh dang 9. He is fully incapable of course correcting, which is just such a horrific view. Ugh, that's so. Yeah, I can't wait till his ass is gone. I can't wait till his ass is gone. I just don't. Hopefully, it's not at the expense of ASU and Ray Anderson takes his spot.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, but first things first, get through the.
Get through the pandemic. I know it's always good
Yeah,
about it.
so we'll see. But yeah, it might be. I mean, when there is a sense of urgency in terms of like the negotiating window for the media deal is going to be coming up here pretty soon, and
That's
they have to
4 years out, right?
yeah, and but these
But
things
we
take
only have 3 years to make it happen.
and so these things takes a substantial amount of time to get going and be negotiated, and they got to make it a hard decision. Like if they want
Yeah,
Memo Larry to be the guy to get it going and write a new media deal after what we've seen from his existing one.
that
Um,
kid, man.
oh,
Anyway, Two questions for you. No more bathing or live in the Jurassic period. Which one would you?
Jurassic period, I guess.
Yeah, you want to live. You'd rather live in the Jurassic period and with the high chances of dying versus bathing. Huh?
Yeah, I don't want
Bathing's
to be
the
gross.
shit. I
I don't want to be gross. Then you get then you die anyway from being gross.
because you're all. I got diseases on me. Yeah, you're right. PJ actually shared. I think Ray would be good for the conference because that's who I know. But that's because who we know. But that's my greatest fear that
I
we get
mean,
another we get a Steve Patterson right for the conference, which is exactly who freaking Larry Scott is. Just he's
I mean,
some
Ray's got the legal background. He's got the NFL business experience. He's got the I mean,
got the
so
connections. I mean, I think that's really, I mean, I was a horrifically bad critic of when we got hired Herm and everything else, but the vision is just brilliant as to how it's working out. So I mean, it's just what bigger vision would Ray have for the conference relative to, what he already knows. So
yeah. So I mean, I think there's somebody out there that has that business savvy.
I would
'Cause,
love to get Greg Byrne back, but he's not a fan of ASU, I guess. I mean, he happens to be. I guess he happens to be having a good time at. I think. Here's a question for you from Paul Hornstein. Brad, was Chris Coraggio still at 5 when you started there? Oh, this I guess would be relative to the.
no, because when I started at 3 back in 2013, and then we merged with 5. I don't know, 2015, 2016,
That's the
something like.
Wallace and Ladmo station, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay.
Channel 5, yeah, CBS 5 with
Got it.
I don't know. Chris Coraggio is a name I haven't heard in. He might have been long gone from 5.
Okay.
I don't know when, but yeah, we 3 merged with 5 in kind of the duopoly for I don't know, maybe 2015, 2016, somewhere
Oh,
around there.
that's recent. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, but it's
Did you get your hockey?
I'll say maybe 2015.
Okay. Did you get
We
your
won
hockey helmet, by the way?
What's that?
Did you get your hockey helmet?
Yeah.
Look at that. Turn to the side so we can see its beauty. Look at that, man.
Yeah.
See, that's pretty.
Smells like hockey. Oh my god.
Because usually, and the sticker's only on one side, as it were.
Yeah.
That's as it were, because that's funny. As I was gonna say, producer Wes always wears his hockey helmet. It's not the goalie mask, but it's a hockey helmet on the summit. Probably, when we're about 4 or 5 hours in and several drinks in, but he shows up with it on. I'm like, all right. It's usually, I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but it's a maroon one. But yeah, here's another one. I wish I didn't know. I'm kind of glad I know this now because it means I got some more time on my calendar. In the United States, the most common age for a man to die is in his which decade? A, his 50s, B, his 60s, 70s, C, his 70s, or D, his 80s.
Well, isn't like the male life expectancy like 74?
You are close. 80s.
Really?
It has increased. It has increased. Since I'm closer to that number, that makes me happy.
Apparently, our cat does not like the smell of my mask. I don't blame him.
It was like hockey, you said.
Oh God, it has. Yeah, hockey gear has its own distinct smell.
I actually was assaulted by that one time. Remember when I was hanging out? I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Although actually, it wasn't you who first, though. It wasn't you first. It was my buddy. I went and saw him play at an ice rink here in Oakland. It was some Sunday night. It was late as hell. No one was out. And I go and we're talking, and I'm like, you are ripe. It's impressive. But again, Paul Hornstein and then Rob Rothfarb have always maintained that hockey is probably the most physically strenuous sport any athlete can take on, because again, you have to skate, you're controlling it with your hand. It's high on
Before you can do anything, you have to learn an entirely new mode of like movement.
That's what they're saying. That's exactly what Mr. Rothbarb has actually maintained, that there's a whole thing that you have to do to move yourself around before you can do anything else. Then there's being fast at it, and then being able to control your stick, much less a puck. So there's a lot of coordination that you have to do relative to, say, if you're swimming or
Yeah. Something that's running around. Everybody does that, as
you can do that. Paul said, "Don't you don't want to get a Franco Harris image on your helmet?" I met him.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that? I met him Super Bowl 30. I was actually a bouncer, and he walked.
Oh yeah.
And he walked by me, and I'm like, I mean, I thought he was going to be 6'8" and just massive, and I'm like, I didn't expect him to be, under 6 foot, and I'm like, wow. I mean, he could still kill me, but I mean, it was just like I wasn't expecting that. And then PJ asked, "Did you know Eric Sperling at a CH5 Channel 5?"
What was the name?
Eric Sperling, Sperling, the
No.
family friend of his.
I did not. Name is unfamiliar to me.
I got another card for you, and there's no answer. It's not A or D, thank God. So you got a 50% chance of getting this one right. If this is your favorite color, you're certainly unique because it ranks as the least favorite color in a recent poll. A, yellow; B, brown; C, orange; or D, violet.
I'm biased. I think purple's ugly because I hate the Raven. Well, my anti-Raven sentiment will say violet, even though it's probably brown.
You are correct. People are biased against myself. So, question for you, and I wanted to Franco's Italian Army. That's what PJ is saying.
There you go.
Question for you. This actually came up at the summit a couple weeks ago, and I love this question, and so it's definitely going to be a standard. What is the greatest meal at a restaurant you've ever had?
I have an answer for this.
Should.
Yeah. It was in Sicily. So my wife and I went back not this past February, obviously, but the February beforehand.
18?
19?
Okay.
And so February is a little off season because they're more, I guess more summer's more their season. And so we went to this little town on the coast. And honest to God, when we were driving, like we found the review said like all these travel things said like, it's the spot to go, a little town on the coast. And so, but since it was off season, we drive through and it's like a ghost town. It's like, honestly, the image that like hit me was like what was the 28 Days Later or something, like one of those. You're driving through a town that's like deserted, like
right.
The place are boarded up. You see like nothing, not a sign of life.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
We just drove like 45 minutes across the island to get to this place, but thankfully it was open. We were the only people there, and it turned out to be, I think, like $40 each for 20 courses and like a bottle of wine,
right?
Of just like this the most amazing seafood. And so like it's whatever, it's one of those places that's like whatever we got that morning is what you got. So it's like super fresh, and it's like they pull it out, and it was just everything you could imagine, like langoustines, like the tentacles. I'm assuming squid or octopus. Just we were just eating it all. Clams, like shrimp, and just like several types of fish. Like it was just unbelievable. And just they just bring like 5 things out, drop them down, put down, and 5 more, drop, and then it's just like constantly just food. And then topped off with like this like lemon sorbet, I think it was. But like it was
that sounds amazing. And I mean, it's just did you both make it through all 20 courses?
We did.
Did you? That's cool.
Let's see. Maybe I'll attempt. But yeah,
Because
it was like one of our last days of our trip. We were in like we did Rome and then Sicily for
okay,
um let's see what's a decent.
because I did a 15 or 16 course with Mrs.
So it's
Jet
kind
ASU.
of like I don't know if anybody can see that,
A little
but
bit
it's kind
over,
of
yeah. Oh,
like
that's cool.
yeah. So you got a couple langoustines, some fish, and then
See, that's a brilliant portion too, because they're enough to the point where you can enjoy it.
so
Exactly.
like they're just like 30 of those like type of plates, and then just random fish, and just like shrimp, and then like like sea like
Oh,
just
that's beautiful. Yeah.
and it was just and like I'm a big seafood person, and then yeah, then at one point they're just like, hey, let's all these all these
Wow,
shrimps
that's
and like
cool.
little like I don't know little squid. That was the view. I don't know if anybody can see.
No, there we go. Yeah, if you hold it at an angle, you can see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like the view, it's like literally right on the beach.
That's on the Mediterranean, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so like it was on the west coast, so it was like kind of the more African influenced
Oh, interesting. Okay.
part of the island. Oh, okay. So I don't know if anybody can see that, but
Yeah,
those are like the tentacles.
scooch it over to the left. There we go. Perfect.
So like the tentacles right there.
Yep. That's
I
so
don't know
cool.
if they were octopus or squid or something, but like they still had the suckers on.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it just like basically it almost seemed like they kind of lopped them off and then put like little olive oil or
It's
little
almost
like
like a
everything was like
Chiopino. Oh, that's so good. Oh.
and I would just Page little off put by that, but I was like, oh god, every sea creature. I mean, I did not eat one course though because one of them was like escargot, like those like sea snails or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm as some people might know, I'm literally terrified of snails. That's my big phobia.
That's your big deal, huh?
Yeah, I
They
can't.
move so fast.
Ugh. I'm legit terrified. Like snails and slugs, I can't handle. But
So no banana slugs for you either. Really? Oh, wow.
just like I can't handle it. I can't do it. But that was only everything else, like just like the shellfish and the shrimp and the langoustines, and just it was transcendent.
That must have been brilliant, and a decent table. What is it? Chianti.
It was like we had like this bottle of just like this this white wine and whatever, and so just like it's like one of those like 2.5 hour meals that
That
is just
sounds so
like
good.
we were the only people like there was like we were on the upstairs and there's just like us, and then we just in this abandoned seaside beautiful town that like then afterwards we just like walked the beach. It was like
It was just you.
it just
You had the whole town to yourself.
essentially it was like us and the restaurant staff, and it's like
That's
okay,
so cool. Oh,
yeah.
that's brilliant. Because
So
everyone has their thing.
that is the story of.
That is the one.
Well, actually, you know what? Actually, there I will
There's
say on
another.
another trip, yeah, there was one that was like one. What is it called? Is Michelin star or Michelin star?
Go
Is
ahead.
that a thing?
Yep.
We went to a place in Luxembourg
Okay.
with that had a Michelin star as well, and it was one of those things where it was like kind of like a tasting menu. It was like
Yep.
but it was like way more. It was like several $100s or whatever. But it was just like some amazing stuff. But
Right.
um, that was also where I had Luxembourg was also where I had a horse steak.
Really?
Horse is good, let me tell you.
Is it?
It's
Okay.
good.
Because I'd imagine because they're such a beautiful and muscular horse, animal. So it was that good, huh? I figured it
Like
would be
yeah,
tough.
so yeah, it was like the first night we were in Luxembourg. It was Europe is so cool, man. Like we stayed in this. It was like a 12th century castle.
Wow.
Like, parts of it and renovated, like
Right.
so, like 10 rooms or whatever. And then like in a little town, we went in and it was like
Okay.
I, Paige was trying to, she had spoke some French, but it was because everything was in French,
Okay.
and so it was like a filet de cheval or whatever. I guess
Okay.
cheval is like horse or something in French. So but that sounds good. I'll do that.
Done.
Delicious.
Would you have ordered it had you known?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm an adventurous eater, and like so when we were also
Same. I would have done it too.
yeah, and so like our last night in Rome before we went to Sicily, we went to this like hole in the wall place that like Bourdain on one of
Okay.
his 1,000 shows recommended. Um, and so and it was basically like when they say like authentic Roman food,
Okay.
they meant like okay by that it's like the food of the peasants. It's not like
Oh,
Rome.
interesting. Okay.
And so basically, it was a place that you walk in and just like so kitschy, but like you can tell it's where the locals go.
Okay.
Like they have like their house made wine and like a little spigot in the wall. There's no menu. Just like
Okay.
the owner comes over, sits down, starts chatting you up, and it's like, "What do you want?" And like, all right.
Really
And so we had like, actually, this is where I had horse again. Like they had horse meat shaved over the salad, but then
interesting.
like apparently like being peasant food, like they use every part of the animal.
Okay.
So like
Makes
we got
sense.
some, yeah. So we got like some beef like intestines and all
Mm.
kinds of lung and heart.
See, the lung would have been interesting.
Yeah, and so like different, they use like all the parts of the animal. So
Of
it's like
course.
and like sweetbread pasta, and it was just like amazing.
Sweetbreads is so good though. Even
Yeah.
though it's
Oh,
the gland, even though it's gland, sweetbreads is so good.
like it's just such good food, and just saying, they keep bringing in these bottles of their house made wine,
Right.
and just every the locals. It was almost kind of like there's like kind of like Norm on Cheers, like people like walk in and just random stuff, and like everybody knows them, and it's like
They all
well,
know him.
yeah, and so it was just those places off the beaten path. They're that's when we travel. That's like definitely the places that to get the real experience and the real.
That's what my uncle told me. If you ever travel, if you're blessed enough to travel, whether it be international or wherever, if there is a line out the door, that's where you go, right? Because that's where the locals are willing to wait, and that's where it's going to be good, right? Because if it's not, if there's no one there, be leery of it, right? And obviously you avoid chains and everything else, but if it's packed and people are waiting to get in, then you get in that line.
Yeah, like we found this little place like in Rome, like near Trevi Fountain. It was
Okay.
like there it's like all these little, just like everything's so old, and there's like these small little alleys everywhere.
Good night, Paul.
Right, Paul? That it was just like this meat shop. You walk in and like there's hooves hanging, like legs, still with hoof attached, but like the top part is all cut up, and so it's like they're slicing meats off. We got this like
Like the pancetta, where all that other anything of those variants would just have been just
yeah, we got the
brilliant.
medium board. It
Okay.
was probably at least 4 feet of just like meats and cheeses, and a bottle of wine is like, it turned out to be like $20 American. And we were, again, as one of those things, like after walking around Rome for a couple
Right.
hours, like we sit there for an hour and a half, just polish off a bottle, eat all the 4 feet of meat and cheese and fresh fruit,
That's a way of
just
putting it.
hole
Four
in the
feet
wall.
of meat, 4 feet of. But that's again, that's what you want to do. You want to have those little local hole in the wall places because that's where you know where it's at, and they're going to treat you. They're going to treat you like family, for lack of a better word,
Yeah,
right?
it
So
was good stuff.
that's excellent. Let's see. I asked this of Kyle Dodd. I've actually asked this of everyone. I want to ask you, which talent would you most like to have? Meaning, what talent don't you have that you would like to have?
Is this multiple choice or is it just open ended?
Open ended, whatever you'd like.
Oh, I have the same answer at 38 as I did at age 5. I mean, okay, wait, time out. Does that have to be a real thing?
Doesn't matter. It's open ended. It can be multiple. It can be however you want to
I want to
answer.
use the Force. I want to be a
Ah,
Jedi.
fair.
I want to have, be able to have Jedi powers. I've wanted to do that since I was 5, and every day since.
Kyle Dodd said play an instrument, so using
Well,
the
I
force,
think I could like, force choke people and pick stuff up and
right?
influence minds.
The
It's way
force would
better.
be pretty kick ass.
Jump like Jedi. Come on.
Push lava, all that stuff. What's your favorite name? If there was a
Favorite
name out there, what's your favorite name?
favorite name
Yeah.
other than Brad? Brad's a pretty cool name. I don't know. That's something I don't know that I have an answer to. I don't know, like favorite name.
Yeah. I saw this question. I thought it was because, like, if I had to think about it, I'd probably maybe put. I don't know why Thomas comes to my name. That's not even, but Thomas comes to mind. Um, yeah, I wasn't sure.
Charlemagne. I don't know.
Charlemagne. It's just intriguing.
a lot of Ben. I don't know.
Ben
Two
Kenobi.
rings.
There we go. What trait do you dislike most
In general, or about me, or what?
in a person? What trait do you dislike most?
Probably especially now these days, closed-mindedness. Like as we talked about, just people who, even in the face of fact and information and logic, they don't care. They're just like, this is my viewpoint, and that's it. I'm done.
This is my opinion. This is my experience.
Yeah.
It's
Even
like
when confronted with fact and things to the contrary.
they will go ahead and not shine it either way. So that's actually fair. I think I like that answer because, again, especially right now, it works out well. But look at that. We did 3.5 hours, man. How amazing is
Nice.
that? That's always good, though.
Is anybody still left?
There is. There's actually some people actually, PJ Saturno just said it's not hard to be nice, right? Just like
Yeah.
Dalton said on Roadhouse, be nice until you don't have to be.
Yeah, and just be nice. Have some empathy. It's amazing how far you get, and how,
Absolutely.
especially nowadays.
Jonathan Brooks signed out a while back. Paul Hornstein also signed off as well, so that was actually. But it is not hard to be nice, so that is definitely it. But what are you working on? What do you want to plug? What's coming up? I know the way you produce content is something I aspire to. So what do you got coming up, man?
We should be having a new podcast this week. Talk to Martin Lucas, one of ASU's commits. One of probably the most athletically intriguing members of this class.
In what way?
6'2", about 250, out of Virginia. He's going to come in as a running back.
Holy crap!
The load, yeah.
250.
But he's open to like playing linebacker as well.
Okay.
Kind of cool story in that he's the first guy from his high school since the 80s to go D1.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had him on the show.
Okay.
And as mentioned earlier, where I was talking with John Wilner.
Okay.
Obviously nobody has his fingers on the pulse of the Pac-12 more than him. So we're trying to iron out the time that he can come on for the show.
Yep.
So that's in the works. Should have a written piece out. I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say that there's somebody on ASU's roster who has a distinction that no one else in the FBS has. It's a really, really cool story and really unique. And excited to tell it. I'm working on that for a little bit.
When is that going to come out? Because I know we were talking about it before the show came on. So
TBD. Hopefully, maybe I don't know, maybe first half of the week or so.
Okay, cool.
First few days, but we'll see. So
that's going to be a hell of a read. That's why I'm extra excited to read that one, given some of the details you shared.
Yeah, it's one of the weird things that I just happened to stumble upon. That it's definitely unique and really cool. And digging into it more, you got a lot of cool stuff, and I think it'll be something that ASU fans will be interested to hear about.
Will you detail it? Will you detail how you stumbled on this in the article?
The most basic thing, I just looked at the roster because all the times in the off season, late, about the late summer months, before historically when camp is when a lot of names get added on,
right?
That walk-ons or people, whatever, transfers and such that maybe don't get don't get a whole lot of pub, but
interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And so it's like just a small little look, and a name can open up a whole. I mean, there's a big story behind every name. But
that's cool.
Yeah,
I love it. Question from PJ: has ASU's focus on recording shifted to a really good player from a lot of different states, as opposed to hyper focus on Cali? That makes sense.
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
So PJ had a question. So has ASU's focus on recruiting shifted to a really good player from a lot of different states, as opposed to hyper focusing on someone from California?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously they're still focused a lot on California because that's going to be their bread and butter, right. And we've started to see the early parts of this particular 2021 class were national. but you start to see the resurgence of California,
Hmm.
especially lately. And I think you might see some more names
Right.
in that direction, maybe round things out. But definitely they have expanded the footprint.
Okay.
As mentioned, Martin Lucas, from Virginia,
Yep.
is one guy, but they have a number of guys from areas that are,
Nationally,
yeah,
everywhere.
nationally in that central and eastern time zones, from North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin,
Yep.
Florida. I mean, you're looking at regions that ASU historically has not
Right.
either had a whole lot of success or even bothered in general.
Hmm.
Just trying to limit themselves to kind of the western,
Of
Southwest and
course.
Texas maybe. So you are seeing that, and I think that in talking to Chris Hawkins, and talking to Prentice Gill, or Trey Anderson, or most recently Anthony Garnett, in various sit down series episodes.
Right.
I was asking him, what, how do you guys do that, and what are the keys? And it's kind of similar to recruiting California. It's just about establishing those relationships. And there is extra challenges, because I mean,
Mhm.
at the same point, and then especially in this year, when you're adding the layer of, you can't take
Yeah.
visits to schools. And I even
Jeez.
asked Martin, like, how is it,
Right.
you're coming from Virginia to Tempe, you've made that commitment, and you've never set foot on campus. And
Wow.
so the
Yeah.
staff is, it's kind of in a way a leap of faith, but it just puts more pressure. It's more on the guys that are doing the recruiting for ASU
Hmm.
to be creative, and sell. And whether it's virtual tours through um, you know through the football facilities, or
Those
they have
cre.
to figure out a way to, be creative, and strengthen build those relationships over longer distances. But thankfully, technology can shrink those down. And so while the footprint is expanding, and
Right.
it's been evident, the staff and Herm have been very candid prior to this class, or over the last signing day, that they're going to expand the footprint, because while ASU has always been really good and successful at finding the dynamic playmakers, and the running
Right.
backs, and the DBs, and the wide receivers, or whatever, that you can find a lot in California. And this is kind of a maybe a top to bottom criticism of the Pac-12 outside of maybe Oregon.
Hmm.
it, you're not going to necessarily find those huge burly bodies for the offensive and defensive lines in the West Coast footprint.
That's
You're going to
right.
have to go to the South. You're going to have to go to the Midwest and the East Coast, and that's
Yes.
exactly what ASU is doing, and has been doing in this 2021 class. I mean, just look at the commitment list, and look at those big bodies, those 6'5", 280 type guys, and look at the where they're at.
So now this is a question to that end, right? Especially OL, right? Offensive line. All the ham is everywhere else outside of the West Coast footprint. And I think I've asked this of you before, right? But ASU has been brilliant recruiting the ham outside of the West Coast. Because again, I don't know who said that we're going to recruit where the bodies are. We're going to recruit where the players exist, right? And I don't know who said that. Was it Luganbill or was it someone else?
That's been something that I think all of them have been echoing. I mean,
Right.
whether it's AP, Herm, or Al Luganbill, and identifying those players. And that also kind of harkens back to a common complaint from a lot of fans of ASU's
Hmm.
not recruiting in Arizona. Like, I
Yes.
mean, they're trying, and they want the
Right.
top talent in the state for whatever reasons. Whether it's just the very fact that a lot of kids just want to leave, and no matter
Exactly.
what, or maybe sometimes they want to explore the other options, or ASU just isn't a great fit. They're not
Right.
going to take an ASU kid just to take an ASU kid.
Yes.
They're, that's not what they do, and that's not what the pro model is about. The pro model is, as you said, finding the best players that they possibly can
Right.
for what they want, for the skill set they want, for the schemes that they want,
Hmm.
type of characteristics they want in the players. And so they're going to go find those players, whether it is in Scottsdale, or if it's in
Right.
California, or if it's in the Carolinas.
Right.
They're going to go identify those players and recruit them to their damnedest. And they find a guy in Pennsylvania that fits their scheme, they're going to go
They're
and
gonna bring him
aggressively
in.
target him. And if that's at the expense of maybe a lesser player in Arizona, so be it. They're going to go after the best. And
Right.
we've seen the recruiting fortunes do a lot better in recent years. Excuse me.
Yep.
So it's just something that's what they're going to do. You
Be-
find the best possible players. You don't really give. Who cares where they're from?
and that's a
Do you want the best?
counter.
Yeah.
And,
Do you want the best Sun Devils, or do you want local Sun Devils?
and that's the interesting thing too, because it's always a counter argument, right? Look, the 1987 Sun Devils, the O line was every single one of them was from Arizona, right? That is the last Rose Bowl. That is the one that everyone kind of holds as a standard, right? So then, is that really is that a realistic expectation? Meaning, does the state of Arizona produce enough OL talent to be able to say, no, we're not going to look at the rest of the state. We're just going to no, we're not going to look at the rest of the country. We're just going to look. You're just going to look within.
No, I think where AC or Arizona is producing much more talent in
Yes,
the last several years than ever before.
absolutely.
But I think when you talk, I mean, especially quarterbacks, I think Andy Staples had a great piece in
Mhm.
the Athletic, not too long ago about just how Arizona is becoming kind of almost the hotbed of prep quarterbacks.
Okay.
So I think if you want to
Yeah.
question ASU's recruiting approach with quarterbacks, fine. But I think for the offensive linemen and those big bodies, I mean, you got to go national. You can't
Yeah.
the, to even factor in geography is almost kind of a fool's errand. You
Mm,
just find the best players that you like, that you think is a great fit for your program, and you do your damnedest to go get them and
right.
convince them to come to your school. Whether it's a guy down the road at Coronel del Sol,
Hmm.
or if it's in Eastern Pennsylvania, you
Right.
find your guy and you go get him.
Absolutely. And that's see, and it's always a guilt trip, right? It's like, oh, you're not recruiting Arizona, that and everything else, and Ralph has said that too, right? It's like it's just they're not giving these kids a fair chance. But again, it's like you said earlier, I was one of these kids. I wanted to get the hell out of that state. I didn't want to be there. Come hell or high water, regardless of how much I loved the school I was at. I just wanted to get out, and I can't. From a recruiting perspective, I can't. Being someone who grew up there and wanted to get the hell out, I can't fault a kid for wanting to leave and just build their own way someplace else, which some kids are, right? And that's okay.
Yeah. And there's nothing you can do, no matter. But it's if ASU is able to all of a sudden start stringing together 9, 10 win seasons year in year out, then all of a sudden maybe that desire to go elsewhere, and that appeal of staying home and continuing to be part of
Right.
a perennial Pac-12 power. Obviously, that I think that will start to change things. But as of right now, ASU is an option. They're finding the
Hmm.
players that are local that they like, that they think can fit, and they're pursuing them.
Right.
And if they get them, great. If they don't, but I mean, regardless of wherever they play their high school ball, I mean, ASU is working hard to coast to coast find the guy that find the guys that
Right.
fit what they want to do.
I just hope they all stick. I hope they all stick. That's what because there's some amazing talent they recruited. So I'm just hoping they all stick and they show up next year. That's my biggest. That's always the concern.
We'll see.
I know. We, God willing, we all get to be witness to that. But you're saying, do you have a Speak of the Devils podcast coming up? Do you know what you're talking about? You're gonna be doing?
Yeah, hopefully maybe Wednesday or something. Yeah, with Martin Lucas and hopefully John Wolner, we'll be able to connect with him. Just kind of talking about craziness of the ever changing saga of Pac-12
The back
football,
12, and that'll be
the
interesting for
resurrection.
you to be able to. You're talking with him Wednesday.
Hopefully we'll Tuesday or Wednesday we'll find a time.
And the only
Hopefully,
reason I'm asking that, right, is because all the news is supposed to come out on Thursday. Well, Thursday afternoon after they meet. So, like, who knows what's going to happen between
yeah.
then?
But I mean, no one's more plugged into the conference workings than John Wilner. So I looped in with him today, and he was down. I just hopefully we'll be able to iron out a time.
He's brilliant from a conference perspective. I know he doesn't like ASU much, but
People
there's
say that. I don't know that I've seen any anti. I don't know. I just
there isn't any anti. You are 100% correct. There isn't any anti ASU. there's 0 ASU. It's not positive or negative. But then
Yeah,
again,
I don't know. I don't. I follow stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen like a slant any for or against any of the 12. Really, I mean, he just especially even like he talks about basketball. He's been very complimentary of what Bobby Hurley's been
and that's
doing,
the
and
interesting thing from a basketball perspective. Yes, 100%, you are correct. But from football, nah, which is
we'll
very
see once
curious.
things get started.
Same thing with Lisa Horn. She absolutely refuses to say ASU. Lucy Horn's the other one. She absolutely refuses. But she's an USC homer. But anyway, maybe that's why. To everyone out there, I just wanted to show you Surf Arrakis, House of Trades. For all of you that are gonna see the new Dune movie, I had to go ahead and wear this. I have 2 more shirts that I can't wear until I have a guest on the 42 Social Club because I'm trying to announce these. But anyway, I got all these new clothes and I can't wear them. But anyway, I just wanted to show off my shirt before everyone else's. But thank you. I feel much better about what to expect for the rest of the season and how to actually approach it. And so thank you for the past 3.5 hours. I can't thank you enough
We're
because
playing with house money.
no, why not? Right? Why not? That's exactly where we're at. So, which games are you going to watch tomorrow? Which one's most intriguing to you?
I like Navy Tulane, but that's just because I like those 2 teams.
Yeah, good
Let's see.
uniform combo. Hopefully they get to wear. I don't think Navy's going to wear anything fancy, but the Angry Wave. We love the Angry Wave.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's
I gotta
Navy. That's
pull up.
probably my favorite of the early slate.
Gotta pull up
App
the
State
schedule
Marshall
as
might be
well.
interesting. UCF Georgia Tech should be pretty good.
That one will be good. That's UCF's first game, right?
I believe so. And then
Yeah.
everybody saw, obviously the only ranked game is Miami at Louisville.
I can't. Too bad. I wish Miami would take a dump, but I think they're gonna actually be pretty good this year.
De'Aaron King's good.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good. I think they're going to actually work out well.
Yeah, but I mean Miami just weird. Like they can't get back on track consistently.
Texas State, Louisiana Monroe. Is that where we get to see? We get to go see Coach Napier again.
He's at Louisiana Lafayette, not
He's
Monroe.
Lafayette. Okay, got it. Okay, that's where I got.
Or as they like to be called now, just Louisiana.
No, I said.
Actually, you know what? I think that game got canceled.
Did it get canceled? So
I think
the
so.
one. So
The
we got
Georgia State and Louisiana game.
Okay, so we got everything starting at 9:00. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 games at starting at 9. Holy crap! 10 games starting at 9:00 tomorrow.
Maybe
1, 2, 3,
We'll
4,
I
5,
don't know.
6, 7 games starting at. So if you go to lsufootball.net,
Oh, I got that bookmark. Oh yeah, man.
lsufootball.net for all of you out there is so good because I mean they just I love those guys. Maybe I should have them on, figure
There
out
you
what
go.
they're doing. But yeah, everything else, and then there's nothing at noon, obviously. USA Network. Holy shit! South Florida at Notre Dame is on the USA Network. When in the hell was the last time they had a football game?
I think they got kicked over there because of the U.S. Open coverage.
Got it. App State Marshall, Stephen F. Austin at UTSA. I love Stephen F. Austin. Are they D2 or D1? I can't remember.
I think they're FCS.
They are. So D2. Stephen F. Austin I like a lot.
D1. But just remember D1's got two tiers.
No, okay. Oh, is that what FCS, FBS means?
Yeah, it basically is the old 1A and 1AA.
Oh,
Like
okay.
NAU's like D1, but
they're confusing
the FC,
me and they're confusing me even more. So
abolish the NCAA.
Abilene Christian at UTEP is the football dessert. 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Good times.
That's interesting. It'll be good. Anyway, thank you. I will hold on. Stay on here. Thank you, PJ. PJ, shout out to you. Thank you. He's just great show, great stuff. Definitely recognition from PJ. Love seeing you guys. Thank you, everyone else out there. Go ahead. I'm going to make an announcement. Stay on the Zoom call if you could, please, for me, Brad. But again, thank you, everyone, for spending some time with us and having some just hanging out on a Friday night with both Brad and myself. Can't appreciate you enough for being with us. As always, next in 2 Fridays, Friday, October 2nd, At 5:30, we're going to go ahead and have a virtual Sun Devil Summit, our 5th or 6th of the pandemic. I can't remember which one that is, but we'll go ahead and start continuing referencing them as just the 5th or 6th. So this way they're always going to be out there. But as always, remember, watch out. I have to announce a winner for the retweet and the t-shirt. So that's going to actually happen shortly after I sign off. But as always, thank you for joining us. I love you. I cannot appreciate you enough. Make sure you love yourself and love those around you. And as always, whether it be someone that you know in person and even on social media, make sure that you go ahead and, as always, stay social. Andrew Taylor, shout out to you. Thank you so much for hanging out. Everyone else in the chat, it was outstanding. Love the movement, love the comments, and love the feedback. So as always, we appreciate you for making this show great, because without you, wouldn't have a show at all. So thank you again. As always, again, we will talk more next week, and we will see 2 weeks. We'll see you 2 weeks on the virtual Sun Devil Summit. So again, thank you all, and good night.